You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 361, Too Many Idiots 4. Chapter 361, Chapter 104 Too Many Idiots 4. As he said that, he glanced at Chen Qi from the corner of his eye and said in a low voice, "Someone was afraid that I would win against Su Yu and take away the mountain-breaking bull's essence blood, so he quietly had another battle with Su Yu." As soon as he said that, Dai Qing's expression instantly changed. He had too many things to think about previously. But at this time, if it wasn't Lin Yao who did it, then it was Chen Qi. Chen Qi was the most likely. Dai Qing looked coldly at Chen Qi, who was in a daze on the stage. Chen Qi was also a member of the Great Xia Association. If Chen Qi did it, Dai Qing cursed in his heart. Even if they found out that it was Chen Qi, they had to deal with it quietly. Otherwise, the Great Xia Association would be humiliated to the extreme. The members had their own internal strife. Chen Qi and Lin Yao were both on the same side. F***ck. Dai Qing cursed in his heart. He had the heart to kill these two people. Bastard. Lin Yao secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, although he had embarrassed himself today, smart people could quickly guess something. Chen Qi was very suspicious. Of course, he knew that it was Chen Qi's doing, but he was worried that he would lose to Su Yu. That was why he directed such a scene today. He did not want to fight with Su Yu. He was afraid that he would lose and lose face. But now, it seemed that he had lost all his face. There was nothing to lose anyway. However, he could not bear the reputation of drugging himself. Otherwise, he would have offended the people of the Great Xia Association. He had brought the people of the Great Xia Association to seek justice aggressively. In the end, he was the one who had done it. Did he still want to stay in the academy? Chen Qi. Lin Yao glanced at Chen Qi and snorted coldly in his heart. It was good that he had someone to embarrass himself with. He might even have to face the punishment of the Great Xia Association. If you were even more miserable than me, then I would be happy. Originally, the two of them should have hated Su Yu, but at this moment, Lin Yao hated that bastard Chen Qi even more. This bastard, scheming against me. If it wasn't for him, he might not have thought of this today. In the end, he had embarrassed himself to the extreme, and the entire academy knew about it. On the stage, Lu Hong had seen through everything. In fact, the moment Su Yu and Chen Qi went on stage, he had roughly guessed the cause and effect. He just didn't expect that this kid, Chen Qi, would really dare to drug him. Stupid. He made an evaluation in his heart. Even if you, Chen Qi, beat Su Yu and obtained the essence blood, the matter of you scheming against Lin Yao might also be exposed. As stupid as your master. He added in his heart. Although Hu Wensheng was stupid, Hu Wensheng was still magnanimous. Chen Qi was even worse than Hu Wensheng. Without saying anything else, Lu Hong stepped down from the stage and walked in front of Lin Yao. He patted his shoulder and said softly, "Teacher trusts you and won't drug yourself. Victory and defeat are common occurrences in war. Don't mind it too much." At this moment, Lin Yao was suddenly touched. He was truly touched. Under the situation where everyone was doubting him, Teacher stood up for him and proved himself. "Teacher." Lu Hong patted him on the shoulder and said softly, "Don't be depressed. Su Yu is a genius. Among the freshmen, there are no more than 3 who have a chance of beating him." He added in his heart, "Not including those strange fellows. You are just a little proud. Put down your pride and be more down to earth. Teacher believes in you. You will catch up very soon." Lu Hongyu said earnestly, "Lin Yao, teacher was not as good as Su Yu's teacher by phone back then. Even now, he may not be as good as him. But teacher is now in the 8th level of the soaring heaven tier. There are no more than 5 students in that generation who are stronger than me. We may not be able to compete for first place, but we can also become strong and become a genius in everyone's eyes. There is still a long way to go in the future. Let's see if we can do it. If we can't do it in the soaring heaven tier, then Ling Yun will do it. If Ling Yun can't do it, then mountains and seas will do it. Lu Hong's poisonous chicken soup made Lin Yao extremely excited. Yes, teacher is right. If I'm not as good as you today, I might not be as good as you in the future. I can do it. Go back and cultivate well. Work hard. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask teacher. Teacher will try his best to fight for some opportunities for you. It's a pity that teacher isn't strong and is still a teaching assistant. There are some things that I can't do even if I wanted to. Lu Hong sighed softly, feeling helpless and weak. It's not that teacher doesn't want to help you fight for some things, but teacher is too weak. There's nothing you can do about it. Teacher. Lin Yao was extremely touched. At this moment, all of the frustration and disappointment he felt earlier vanished into thin air. Teacher will become stronger. Once he becomes stronger, he will try his best to fight for more opportunities for himself. My grandfather said that. Lu Hong frowned and patted Lu Hong's shoulder. Don't talk about this. In the path of cultivation, it's up to you. Lin Yao, you still don't understand. External forces are ultimately external forces. What's yours is yours. He didn't expect Lin Yao to strive for anything for him. If he wanted it, he would have to talk to Lin Yao's grandfather. How could Lin Yao have the right to talk to him about such things? I want one of the spots for promotion this year. The old master of the Lin family had better support me more. Otherwise, you can take your grandson back yourself. He didn't have the intention to talk to Lin Yao more. He was just an idiot. It was enough for him to cultivate obediently. After taking a few steps, Lu Hong suddenly transmitted his voice to Lin Yao, be careful of Chen Qi. Teacher suspects that he's the one who did it. Hu Wensheng lost to Bai Feng and went into seclusion to cultivate. Right now, teacher, I am a Sky Realm cultivator from the Divine Literature faction. Behind Chen Qi, there might be someone else. This time, teacher might have implicated you, but don't be afraid. Teacher will take care of it. After enduring this round of attacks, teacher's position will be stabilized. My students will have a greater future. They don't want teacher to become the spokesperson of the Sky Realm. Someone wants to seize teacher's position and embarrass me. They want to use you to threaten teacher's position. Lin Yao, hold on. Teacher is with you. Lin Yao's eyes lit up. Right, so that's how it is. It turned out that it wasn't just because of the mountain-breaking bull essence blood. They also had this motive. They wanted to suppress teacher, they wanted to snatch teacher's current position. He understood. He really understood. Lin Yao suddenly felt a little agitated. Lu Hong had finally acknowledged him. In other words, as long as Lu Hong could stabilize his current position, he would be able to obtain more benefits than before. Grandfather. I have to speak to grandfather. I can't allow teacher to be suppressed anymore. Damn it, Chen Qi and the others still want to make a comeback. Even Hu Wensheng has been defeated. If teacher doesn't support the sky soaring tier, do they expect those trash to do so? Lin Yao suddenly felt a burning rage. With Lu Hong's position stabilized and his position raised, as his student, he would naturally have more chances. Damn it, Chen Qi and the others were too shameless. There are too many idiots. Lu Hong left in a carefree manner and sighed. He didn't need to put in any effort, but his gains weren't small. It was pretty good. I like this way of life. As for losing face. What a joke. The one who lost was Lin Yao, not him. What did he have to lose face for? Bai Feng's faction was so strong. He had to fight for more good things in order to better suppress them. You guys have to give more, or else I won't be able to suppress them. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 362, will teach you a lesson 1. Chapter 362, Chapter 105 will teach you a lesson 1. I won. After bidding farewell to his classmates, he did not let them send him back all the way. Instead, he found a place with no one around. Suyu suddenly became excited. He won. It was too awesome. Today was too awesome. Not only did he vent his anger, he even earned a huge sum of money. I let you bully me, looking down on me. Suyu was indignant, but it was a pity that he spent an extra drop of yuan chi liquid. He originally did not want to save Qin-Chi, but he had to maintain his image. He, Suyu, was an honest person. If he was not forced to the extreme, how could he do such a heartless thing? Look, I hurt you, and I even saved you, a good person. As for injuring Qin-Chi, it was normal for him to be injured during a sparring match. Furthermore, Qin-Chi was the one who challenged him first, so he took the opportunity to explain it to everyone. He did not want others to misunderstand that he was the one who took the initiative to find trouble with Qin-Chi and deliberately set him up. I don't know if there will be any future trouble. In any case, I've offended Lin Yao this time. Perhaps I've even offended the Great Xia Association. As for Qin-Chi, Suyu did not know what he was thinking, so it did not matter. Sigh, in order to maintain his grace, I did not ask for merit points on the spot. I won't go back on my word, right? At this moment, Suyu suddenly felt a little worried. If he went back on his word, what would he do? Also, Lin Yao had admitted defeat, but after all, someone else had taken his place to admit defeat. The two sides had never really fought before. Would this guy not admit defeat? I'm a little worried. Also, that guy from Xia Huyo's bet should have won, right? Will this guy split the bet with me? With all sorts of worries, Suyu suddenly lost the excitement of winning. He had sacrificed a drop of blood essence and a drop of yuan chi liquid. If they all reneged on the bet, then he would have lost money. Doing a loss-making deal, Suyu felt that he was so poor that he would not be able to bear such a loss. Research Center. Bai Feng did not have a stubble today. He changed into a new set of clothes and looked much more energetic. He was also somewhat handsome. When Suyu returned, Bai Feng saw his worried look and asked curiously, "Did you lose?" "No, I won." "You won?" Bai Feng cursed in his heart. Why did it feel like you lost when you won? He did not even go to watch today and also felt that it was impossible for Suyu to lose. Suyu said with a sad face, "Teacher, I was too embarrassed to collect the merit points that I won on the spot. Now, I don't know if they will go back on their word." Bai Feng was speechless. So it was because of this matter. To think that I thought that you had lost. What are you thinking about? Bai Feng said unhappily, "Unless you don't want to stay in the academy anymore, otherwise, if you lose, you have to give it. It's the same if you lose. If you don't give it. If you don't give it, just wait for your expulsion. Do you really think that we are pushovers?" Suyu had lost, so he had to give it. If he didn't give it, then he would just wait for something to happen. Previously, he had already thought about it. If this fellow really lost, then he would go look for Wu Yuehua. Of course, he wouldn't go alone. Suyu would borrow it himself. After saying that, he said, "You won 300 merit points. 1,300, right?" Suyu blinked and looked at Bai Feng. "Didn't you know?" Bai Feng was stunned. "How much?" 1,300 merit points. "That's right." Suyu whispered, "Lin Yao has 300 merit points. Didn't that Qin-Chi bet 1,000 merit points with me?" "Teacher, didn't I tell you?" Bai Feng was in a daze. He paused for a moment and slowly said, "You fought with Qin today too?" That was strange. This kid came back very quickly. Could it be that he had fought twice? Wasn't this sparring too child's play? Did it end in an instant? When Suyu left, he knew that it had been less than an hour since the start. He needed time to walk, and he also needed time to prepare. Was it over just like that? Also, Qin bet 1,000 merit points with you. I don't know. He only knew that the two of them seemed to have a duel. He really didn't know what they had bet on. Suyu, this brat, had never mentioned it before. 1,300 merit points. At this moment, Bai Feng suddenly said with a serious expression, "Later, teacher will accompany you to ask for it." ****, you actually did not pay after losing the bet. Do you think you are worthy of being a student? Suyu silently cursed in his heart. Did you take a fancy to my merit points? Just now, he was not too concerned about it. When he heard that it was 1,300 merit points, why did it feel like your eyes were shining? Bai Feng said whatever he wanted to say, but he still quickly said, "You beat Qin." Yes. How did you win? Just, Suyu thought for a moment, then he waved his hand and gestured. With one slash, I nailed him to the ground, so I won. Bai Feng decided not to say anything. Was Hu Wencheng's disciple really trash to such an extent? He was so easily defeated by his own disciple with one slash. This kid. Did you consume the blood essence? Yes. Suyu nodded. That Lin Yao spread rumors and said that I framed him. I couldn't take it anymore, so I challenged Qin to a one-on-one battle. I unleashed my full strength and defeated him with a single slash. Bai Feng's head hurt when he heard that. Lin Yao spread rumors and framed you. Why didn't you win against Lin Yao but against Qin? Forget it, I won't ask anymore. He felt a little regretful. He should have gone to take a look. But now, asking this kid was just a single slash. He defeated Qin with a single slash. This was beyond Bai Feng's imagination. No matter what, Qin was still a student close to the top 100. Although he had lost to the top 100 students in the previous challenge, he still had some confidence since he dared to challenge them. Suyu was now considered to be in the top 500 students. One had to know that there were countless students in the academy. There were tens of thousands of students under the age of 30. Bai Feng looked at Suyu again, took a deep breath, and said calmly, "Did you use a literary soldier?" You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 363, will teach you a lesson too. Chapter 363, Chapter 105 will teach you a lesson too. There are still 3 divine inscriptions. Bai Feng's eyes moved slightly. 3 divine inscriptions. Didn't you say that you would end the battle with a single slash? That's right. I fused 3 divine inscriptions into the literary soldier, and then defeated him with a single slash. Fused? Bai Feng was shocked. You fused divine runes? Suyu coughed dryly, he explained, "Teacher, I'm confident. I've fused once before. Previously, when I was in the higher education institution's assessment, I tried to fuse thunder and blood. I succeeded, so I did well." Bai Feng couldn't help but want to curse. You've never told me that you fused divine runes before. Bastard. You had actually fused with it long ago. He really did not know about this. He only knew that Suyu had done well in the test. He had scored very high marks in the Wenmingji test. He thought that it was because of the 2 divine texts, so he did not ask in detail. In the end, Suyu told him that he had already fused with the divine text long ago. Bastard, not being a son of a man, you actually did not say. The examination records would not record Su Yu fusing with the divine inscriptions either. Therefore, other than the examiners from that day, no one else would know about this matter. Bai Feng suppressed the agitation in his heart and suppressed the thought of smashing Su Yu's head. He gently rubbed Su Yu's head, scaring Su Yu so much that his face turned pale. What was going on now? Was the teacher going crazy again? Fusing, you have already fused with the divine inscriptions long ago. This time, you even fused with 3 divine inscriptions. It's not considered a complete fusion, Su Yu said carefully. It's just a simple accumulation of divine runes. The characteristics of the divine runes couldn't even be displayed. According to my thinking, there should have been an illusion to confuse Qin-Chi first, then a thunderbolt to paralyze him, and then a blade to kill him, not to kill him, but to defeat him. Su Yu said seriously, the characteristics of the 3 divine runes are different. They should have been displayed at the same time, but in the end, they weren't. After Wen Bing injured him, he should have displayed the blood-sucking characteristics of the divine runes, but in the end, they weren't. Su Yu reflected, so it's just a simple stack of divine runes. It's not really a fusion. Teacher, am I right? Yes. Bai Feng's heart was tired. You've said what I wanted to say, what else can I say? So, from now on, teacher will teach you the true fusion of divine runes. Bai Feng changed the topic and stopped asking. He was afraid that if he continued to ask, his heart would explode. This kid really didn't have any hope of making it into the top 100 before the end of the year. Not necessarily. At this moment, all the disappointment from last night was gone. Even if Su Yu's talent in the 10,000 race divine prose wasn't strong, and he couldn't even sketch out the 10,000 race divine prose, so what? This kid, even if he couldn't make it to the top of the mountain and sea realm and become a mountain and sea realm expert, he would still be an expert in the mountain and sea realm. Moreover, Su Yu hadn't read a few pieces of the 10,000 race divine prose, so who knew how talented he was? Let's go to the library together. Teacher, aren't we going to collect the debt? You're too impatient. Tomorrow, I won't send it to you tonight. Tomorrow, I'll accompany you to collect the debt. Bai Feng decided to give them some time. He couldn't appear too impatient. It was as if he had never seen merit points before. Su Yu nodded. All right, then I'll give them another night. If they don't deliver it tomorrow, I'll bring teacher here to collect the debt. After saying that, he seemed to have thought of something. Su Yu followed Bai Feng out as he carefully said, Teacher, I defeated Qin-Chi using Heaven Breaker. Oh. Bai Feng nodded and said indifferently, Did you get it by chance or did you exchange it yourself? By chance, I picked up a Heaven Breaker article of Will earlier. The corner of Bai Feng's mouth twitched. Those who didn't know would think that you were lying. Of course, he knew the inside story and knew that what Su Yu said was true. However, this matter, no one would believe it if it was told. I got it. Give me 200 merit points later, and I'll help you register. Su Yu nodded. He didn't have any objections, but he asked curiously, Teacher, are those 200 merit points for you or for the academy? For the academy. Bai Feng explained, to preach, there are limits to some things. We can create our own things, martial techniques, secret techniques, and so on. However, cultivation techniques such as War God Technique and Heaven-Breaking Massacre were all created by others. If they were to make it public, they would be selfless, but they would also need to obtain some things. If you were to spread their cultivation techniques without permission, you would cause trouble. It's just a small price to pay. 200 merit points to obtain the Earth-rank martial techniques and Earth-rank cultivation techniques created by others, isn't that right? Su Yu nodded. That was true. If there were really no benefits, then everyone might not have imparted their cultivation technique selflessly. No one's cultivation technique came out of nowhere. They all needed a lot of time, and even risked their cultivation to create it, risking their lives. "Teacher, are we going to the library to visit Uncle Master?" Suyu asked somewhat expectantly, "Is Uncle Master very rich?" He had a good impression of that Uncle Master whom he had never met before. Today, the three divine inscriptions had fused together. Although it was a little uncomfortable, Suyu did not feel a splitting headache. It had a lot to do with the Annihilation Beast's skull. When it erupted, Suyu felt that the thing was protecting his sea of consciousness. It was a good treasure. Otherwise, he would not be so energetic right now. Perhaps, on the arena, Suyu would have a splitting headache and be in a daze. "Rich?" Bai Feng said unhappily, "If you have money, why do you need us to sell our family to fill the gap? Don't think about it anymore. Your Uncle Master only has that Annihilation Beast skull, which is not bad. The rest are penniless and as miserable as us." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 364, will teach you a lesson 3. Chapter 364, Chapter 105 will teach you a lesson. Suyu did not say anything. He was slightly touched. From his tone, that Uncle Master was also a pauper. In the end, he even gave him the Annihilation Beast's skull. He was a good person. The two of them walked toward the library. At this moment, near the arena, a group of guards suddenly appeared. "Kacha." The silver handcuffs were handcuffed to Xia Huyo. A Sky Realm expert from the guard said with a straight face, "How dare you? Xia Huyo, you gathered a large number of people to gamble in the academy. You disregarded the academy's rules. Now, come with us." Xia Huyo was stunned. After a long while, he said hurriedly, "Don't, big brother. I didn't gather a group to gamble. If you don't believe me, you can ask." Just as he was about to speak, a researcher in the distance suddenly shook his head at him. "Shut up, or else he would implicate us as well." Xia Huyo was shocked. This couldn't be dealt with. What did I do? Even an intermediate researcher was useless. In the next moment, Xia Huyo seemed to have come to a realization. He suddenly cursed loudly, "Shameless, it must be that one. Cough cough, F*CK, I've been cheated. Wan Mingze, F*CKU, were you the one who betrayed me? I was just opening a bid, and you guys actually shamelessly asked the Heart Cultivation Pavilion to step in. Are you still human?" He cursed incessantly. He had been targeted by someone. Otherwise, it was just opening a bid. Why would the Heart Cultivation Pavilion step in? That intermediate researcher did not even dare to interfere. It was obvious that a big shot had spoken. Bastard! It was definitely that old ghost, Wan Tiansheng. This was infuriating. This old ghost did not even let a child off. How could he have the face to do so? Was he even worthy of being a human? In the distance, Wan Mingze had a blank look on his face, looking somewhat innocent. He glanced at Xia Chan beside him and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "It has nothing to do with me. I don't know what's going on either." "Xia Chan, don't misunderstand." Xia Chan calmly said, "It's fine, he asked for it. Before grandfather came, he had already told us not to be too ostentatious when entering the residence, especially when it involved merit points. Who knew how many people were watching us, yet he still did these things. He deserved to be caught." On the other side, the guard expert loudly said, "Xia Huyo, knowing the law and breaking the law, gathering the masses to participate in the gambling, confiscating all illegal gains. All the wagers will be confiscated. Does anyone have any objections?" The students all shut up. Those who lost the wagers gloated, but those who won did not dare to make a sound. It was fine if no one cared, but if someone cared, forget it, don't count on getting it back. If worst comes to worst, you can go and look for Xia Huyo to ask for it in the future. Make him pay. Xia Huyo felt extremely aggrieved. He wasn't the only one who opened the market, so why didn't he let him go? It was over, he had suffered a huge loss this time. Although he didn't have his own funds, but, didn't he have to pay for it? Even if he didn't pay for what he won, those who won would still have to pay for their principal. If he didn't pay for it, would he, Xia Huyo, still be able to do business in the academy in the future? Would everyone still dare to trade with him? As an honest and reliable businessman, it was impossible for him not to lose money if he wanted to become bigger and stronger. Although Xia Huyo was depressed, his brain was also flexible. He shouted, "Everyone has won. Don't lose the tickets. When I, Xia Huyo, come out, I will compensate you. It's just money, just merit points. We are the most honest people in business. Even if I sell myself, I will still compensate you. Remember, my name is Xia Huyo. I am a member of the Xia family. I am the most reliable businessman. I will accept all kinds of business. I will do all kinds of business." The guards were speechless. "Well, you are really bold. You dare to do business in front of us. Do you believe that I will sweep you every day from now on? Huh, Boss Xia is a righteous man. Talk about the cards." At this moment, those who had won began to sing praises. Sure. This fellow was actually prepared to compensate them. How righteous. Well done, Boss Xia. We have high hopes for you. When you come out, we can discuss business with you in the future. Many people laughed as they spoke. It was just a sweep of their plates. What was there to be afraid of? It was not a big deal. Xia Huyo would be able to come out very soon. If he had business in the future, he could talk to this fellow. The Xia family had a wide supply of goods. They even had a monopoly in the Great Xia Manor. There were some things that they did not have the means to get their hands on yet. Xia Huyo was being escorted far away by the guards. He turned his head and shouted, "Everyone, take down my number." After reporting his number, Xia Huyo shouted again, "Report my brothers today and remember to collect the reward. The total bet is 12,000 points, 1%, that's 120 merit points. If no one reported it, then someone must have targeted me. Just find someone to report it and collect the reward. The higher-ups don't acknowledge it, so ask them who reported it, or was it some big shot who personally reported it? Then I'd like to see who's so shameless and shameless. 120 merit points, brothers. Don't let others get away with it." Before he could finish his sentence, Wan Mingze, Xia Chan, Hu Qiusheng, all of these evildoers charged into the distance. Not only them, even a Sky Realm expert flew into the air. There was nothing wrong with what this little fatty said. Go and report it. Since the higher-ups didn't admit it, we'd like to know who reported it to them. There's a reward for reporting it. Even if you want to keep it a secret for the person who reported it, you have to give us a general information. If it's fake. Hee, don't blame us for suing you. The students were all stunned. At this moment, even the Soaring Heaven Realm expert had run away. Who could be faster than the Soaring Heaven Realm expert? 120 merit points, not a small number. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 365, will teach you a lesson for. Chapter 365, Chapter 105 will teach you a lesson for. Behind them, Jia Mingzhen and the others looked at each other. After a while, someone laughed and said, "This little fatty is really too similar to that fatty Xiao. At this juncture, he's still giving us some trouble. Old Zhang, why don't you go and claim it? Scram, I can't afford to lose face." The old man who was called Old Zhang scolded, "Forget it, that kid just got lucky, 120 merit points. Don't, if that kid accepts it, won't he be telling others that there's a problem?" Jia Mingzhen laughed and said, how about this, secretly reward Lu Hong. The few of them looked at Jia Mingjun. That kid, Lu Hong, has been watching us all day long. If he doesn't do anything good, give him the reward. Find a chance to leak it out, and Xia Huyo will soon find out. Not only will he know, those guys in the black market will also know that they hate the guy who reported it the most. Hee, while we're at it, we'll sweep through Lu Hong's black market transactions and make him suffer a loss. He received 120 merit points, but he suffered a huge loss. Jia Mingjun laughed and said, over at the black market, everyone will have to be afraid of him when the time comes. We'll also have to worry about whether he will take advantage of us. Not only will we cut off his business, we can also make the black market stop for a period of time. The elders looked at him again. You are really ruthless. Jia Mingjun did not think much of it, he laughed again and said, actually, it's not bad to reward Su Yu. But forget it, Su Yu can't withstand such a great pressure. The guys from the black market will make it impossible for him to cultivate. It's better to throw the blame to Lu Hong. He can hold on, but he will lose a little. The black market is not a regular channel to begin with. After saying this, Jia Mingjun chuckled and said, 12,000 points. Each of us can split 2,000 points, right? There were a total of 5 of them. The rest would be given to the academy. As they were talking, someone said lightly beside their ears, all of you are students. What's the point of having so many merit points? Reporting merit points is only 120 points. I have my own use for these merit points, so I won't share them with you. Jia Mingjun's expression changed, and he couldn't help but curse in a low voice, Wan, you are really ruthless. Keep a low profile. Wan Tianqing's voice echoed in their ears, I asked you to pretend to be new students, not for you to play around. Suppressing geniuses isn't the main goal either. The key is to find some traces of the Myriad clan cult, so don't mess things up for me. 5 pavilion elders, in order to have fun, there are opportunities everywhere. As students, it's easier and easier to get in touch with some people and step into some circles. The few of you shouldn't be together all the time. Those who don't know might think that you've known each other for years. Jia Mingjun's expression changed slightly. Why didn't you say so earlier? I really thought that it was just for fun. Did something else happen in the Myriad clan cult, in the academy? It's not the academy, it's the heavenly battlefield. Something happened in a few legions. Someone in the army instigated and lured some people to betray them. Many of the sources came from the academy. We have to pay attention to it. I don't want the students from the Great Xia Civilization Academy to become one of these people in the future. Alright, I got it. Jia Mingjun's expression was serious as he said with a fierce gaze, don't worry, we will investigate it thoroughly this time. Oh right, have you caught that blood crocodile from the blood fire religion? Not yet. Wan Tianqing's voice sounded out once more, the fellow who attacked Beifeng's student team last time was almost killed. Only this fellow has disappeared without a trace. But recently, there's been some news that he has contacted the Heavenly E Celestial race and is preparing to rebuild the Heavenly E Celestial race. That fellow will show up sooner or later. It was not that easy to escape after killing a student from the Civilization Academy. These few days, the 2 pavilion elders of the university had moved out and were searching everywhere for that guy. One Lingyun realm warrior had attracted the pursuit of 2 mountain and sea realm warriors. Even if Blood Crocodile died, he would be able to rest in peace. Rebuild the Tianyi Divine Sect. The pavilion elders were slightly stunned. This guy was quite bold. Now, not only did the Great Xia family want to deal with him, even the Blood Fire sect would have to deal with this traitor. Wan Tianqing did not continue talking about this, and his voice quickly disappeared. When his voice disappeared, Jia Mingjun laughed and said, this guy, he is really good at changing the topic. I have been working for him for free again. He was clearly talking about the merit points, but in the blink of an eye, the topic had changed. The few elders did not really care about the merit points, but they were a little angry at Wan Tianqing's shamelessness. They joked for a while. Jia Mingjin said, "We really have to put in some effort. It's best to dig up the 10,000 clan religion. Also, this year's genius cultivation plan, we have to stimulate them a little more. I feel that these little guys don't have much pressure." "Okay, we know. We'll find an opportunity to find trouble later. We'll beat up Xia Chan and the other little guys. If we meet them on the way, we'll start a fight at the slightest disagreement. We'll beat them up until they doubt their lives. Naturally, there won't be any problems." With the pavilion elder's reply, it was simple. Those people lacked the social skills to beat them up. Just find an opportunity to make up for them. At the same time, they would also show off their talent and potential. Who knows, they might even be taken in by the myriad clan cult. If they were taken in, who knows, they might even be brought back to their old nest to be nurtured. As for the identity checks, there was no problem. The identities of these people were all real, it was just that they weren't too famous. Why would the pavilion elder be afraid of not using their real identities? Who would have thought that they would come and pretend to be young? The few of them looked at each other and smiled eerily. The myriad clan religion, the geniuses, we're here. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 366, Ways to Attack and Kill. 1. Chapter 366, Chapter 106 Ways to Attack and Kill. 1. The Library Pavilion. This was Su Yu's first time here. It was a tall ancient building with hundreds of years of history. Back when the Institute of Civilization was built, the Library Pavilion was one of the first batch of important buildings to be built. It was very tall. Su Yu looked up and saw that it was at least 50 meters tall, but there were only 10 floors in total. Simple, elegant, and deep. This was Su Yu's first impression. Bai Feng did not rush him. He waited for Su Yu to look for a while before introducing, the library is one of the most important places in the academy. It's similar to the Secret Realm area and the Heart Cultivation Pavilion. There are many original books of the 10,000 races inside. From the Qianjun realm to the Shanhai realm, there are even stronger ones. Stronger? Su Yu nodded slightly. It was indeed very valuable. Cough cough, it was indeed very important. Looking at the library, Bai Feng was silent for a while, then he said, "This place, back then, the curator was my master, your grandmaster. Later, your martial uncle became the curator. Actually, this place was originally our back garden. Most of the books in the library were actually collected by the experts of the many divine languages." After which, he paused for a moment before continuing, 50 years ago, the academy collected a batch of books and sent them here. Those things. Many of them were left behind by my senior uncle and the others. Lu Laosher. Su Yu was slightly taken aback. Bai Feng said softly, "Yes, back then, the 5th generation head of the academy, who was also my grand teacher, left behind many things. In the end, senior uncle didn't take anything with him when he left. He left the academy alone just like that. He didn't leave with nothing but the divine script." Nowadays, not many people knew that most of the books in the library came from the divine script. People were forgetful. Even if they still remembered, they would choose to forget. As Bai Feng walked forward, he said, "Later on, your uncle master became the head of the academy and stayed there for 20 years. 9th level of Lingyun." He sighed. Bai Feng continued, "Your uncle master has been stuck at 9th level of Lingyun for 7 to 8 years, and he hasn't been able to enter the mountain and sea realm. Actually, he was originally planning to go to the celestial battlefield to stay. Later on, he really had no choice. My master and I were busy with the research room, so he could only set up the library. There are too few people in our faction, so he can't leave. If he went to the celestial battlefield, perhaps, he would already be in the mountains and seas. Bai Feng felt a little helpless. There were too few people. The faction, plus Su Yu's 5 people. If Chen Yong also left the academy, then they would be in big trouble. The library was lost, and the faction of the multi-god literature faction would have no way to survive. As they spoke, the two of them walked to the main entrance. The library's door was very big. At this moment, the door was open, and there was a key card inside. There were also a few guards beside it. Bai Feng swiped his research card and the door was opened. The guards looked at Bai Feng, then at Su Yu, and said in a deep voice, "Assistant Teacher Bai, you want to go up to the 10th floor?" "Yes. You can go there, but he can't." The guard pointed at Su Yu, and Bai Feng frowned slightly. "Why? He doesn't enter the forbidden area. He wants to go up to see my senior brother and pay him a visit. Is there a problem?" The guard commander bowed and said, "Assistant Instructor Bai, don't make things difficult for us. We are only following orders. Su Yu is still a student, and the 6th floor and above is not open to students." "I know." Bai Feng frowned and said, "But there was a rule back then. I have a department of divine literature, and anyone can enter and leave the 6th floor and above." "Assistant Instructor Bai." The guard commander was a little troubled and struggled. After a long while, he said in a muffled voice, "The academy doesn't have a department of divine literature as the official department anymore." Bai Feng's body trembled. After a long while, his face twitched as he said, "No more department of multiple divine languages." "Who said that?" "I don't know if you've seen this year's recruitment brochure, but the academy has already banned the department of multiple divine languages because there are too few people in this department. There are less than 10 new students, and this has been the case for 10 consecutive years. According to the academy's rules, it's time to ban this year." The guard commander lowered his head. He explained, "You can take a look at the rules of the school when it was established. Rule 62 states that for 10 consecutive years, when there are less than 10 new students, the school will be banned. This is also to make the school less bloated, and eliminate some meaningless departments." "Meaningless?" Bai Feng smiled and said softly, "Not so long ago, our department of multiple divine runes actually became a meaningless department. No, now it's not even considered an official department anymore." There was no anger, just a little sigh. 10 years in a row. There were no more than 10 new students. Suddenly, there was an indescribable sigh, and pity. Someone passed by and entered the library. When he saw Bai Feng and his disciple, he nodded slightly and didn't say anything. Bai Feng just stood at the door, not moving at all. Su Yu stood beside him. At this moment, he could clearly feel that Bai Feng's mood was low, and he was a little absent-minded. "Teacher." Bai Feng woke up. He smiled and sighed, "That's great. You want to cut off our last path, but you don't even allow students to go up to the 6th floor." Bai Feng looked at the commander of the guards again and said slowly, "But if I remember correctly, 2 days ago, I saw a few students on the 9th floor. They are students too, right? They have a special warrant from the Dean of the Divine Literature Academy, and they are considered special talents. Is that so?" Bai Feng smiled and said, "Aren't my students considered special talents?" The commander of the guards remained silent. Bai Feng smiled and said, "Right, the dean of this library pavilion is my senior brother. This place should be under his control." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 367, Ways to Attack and Kill. Chapter 367, Chapter 106 Ways to Attack and Kill. Tickets, 2. After saying this, Bai Feng sent a message out and said, "We've been stopped. 1st floor, come and pick us up." A moment later, Chen Yong walked down. His face was a little yellow. Su Yu's first impression of him was very good. He was a very refined person, and he looked a little amiable. He looked to be in his 40s, refined, and easygoing. Director. The guards greeted him one after another. Chen Yong smiled and did not say much less scold him. He said softly, "Let Su Yu go up. I'll make up a warrant later. I forgot before that the multi-divine literature department has been banned." The guards did not say anything more and began to let him go. Chen Yong smiled and looked at Su Yu. He nodded slightly and said, "Su Yu, not bad. Bai Feng often tells me about you. Let's go up together." Su Yu quickly said, "Hello, senior uncle. Don't stand on ceremony. Let's go up and talk." Behind them, Bai Feng suddenly said, "Senior brother, when was our department banned? How come I don't know?" "You." Chen Yong said helplessly, "How can you care about this? It was banned before. For 10 consecutive years, there were less than 10 people. If it's banned, then it's banned." "Senior brother." Bai Feng was a little unwilling. "Why? Is this to remove our last mark? Have they forgotten that the first-generation head of the academy was from the multiple divine languages department? The third and fifth-generation head of the academy were from the multiple divine languages department. Are they crazy? They even want to ban the 3rd-generation head of the academy. Why don't they just close the academy?" Chen Yongping said calmly, "What are you so excited about? When we have more people, we will take in more than 10 students. If we maintain it for 3 years, we will be able to return to the academy. There isn't much difference. It was just a name previously." Bai Feng was still a little angry. However, he thought about it and did not say anything more. It was useless to be angry now. As they were walking, another person appeared from within. He looked to be slightly older than Chen Yong. When he saw Chen Yong and the others, he nodded slightly and said with a smile, "Director Chen, Assistant Instructor Bai." After greeting them, the person looked at Su Yu and said with a smile, "Director, is this the student of Assistant Instructor Bai?" "Yes." Chen Yong smiled and said, "Headmaster Zhou, are you going out?" "Yes, I have something to do." Headmaster Zhou smiled, and his smile was very harmonious. They chatted for a while, as if unintentionally. He said, "Headmaster, the library pavilion has consumed too much in the past few years, and its income is not much. I opened the first Harmony Pavilion that you closed a few days ago. Now that there are people inside, the other pavilions are not enough, so I can only open the first Harmony Pavilion." Chen Yong looked at him for a while, and the smile on his face gradually disappeared. No longer smiling, Chen Yong calmly said, "The first Harmony Pavilion, for several hundred years, only I, who have multiple divine runes, have been able to enter. Have you forgotten, Curator Zhou?" Curator Zhou smiled and said, "I haven't forgotten, but, isn't there no more fusion of divine runes?" Chen Yong became even calmer. He said softly, "Now, take those people out and return to your original appearance. I will bring Su Yu there in half an hour. If there are still people there and something is missing, Zhou Pingsheng, I will personally kill you in the library under the name of stealing important ancient books." Zhou Pingsheng's expression changed. Just as he was about to say something, Chen Yong regained his smile and looked at Su Yu. "Go up and chat with Uncle Master. I haven't seen you all this while, and your master didn't say that he would bring you here to take a look." Chen Yong smiled and no longer looked at Zhou Pingsheng. He walked forward. Su Yu was terrified and didn't dare to say anything. He followed silently. Beside him, Bai Feng sneered. His laughter was very obvious. He said playfully, "You dare to occupy the initial Harmony Pavilion? TSK, you're really good. My teacher isn't dead yet, and my senior brother is still the curator. I hope that everything will be back to normal in half an hour, ha ha ha." Bai Feng mocked. Disdain. He stepped forward and caught up with Su Yu, his laughter reverberating in the air. As they left, Zhou Pingsheng's expression changed for a moment. After a long while, he snorted lightly and turned around to head upstairs. He was going to deal with the First Harmony Pavilion's problem. Within half an hour, return to its original state. On the stairs, seeing that Su Yu was silent, Chen Yong smiled and said, Su Yu, don't be afraid. Uncle Master was just joking with him. That was the vice-head of the library pavilion, Zhou Pingsheng. He's at the 7th stage of Lingyun realm. When we meet in the future, we should greet him, and we scholars should know our manners. Got it, Uncle Master. Su Yu's heart was itchy. Joking? Really? He kept feeling that, it didn't seem like a joke. Uncle Master suddenly stopped smiling and then said those words, which made Su Yu feel a little cold. It was as if Zhou Pingsheng dared to say no, that guy might really be killed here half an hour later. They went up the stairs and soon, Su Yu and the others reached the top floor. On the 10th floor, there was only a large office. This was the director's office. Actually, it was also Chen Yong's home. He lived and ate here and rarely left the library. Just as he went upstairs, Su Yu suddenly heard a coughing sound. Seeing Su Yu looking around, Chen Yong's expression changed slightly. He quickly recovered his smile and said, Your senior sister is not feeling well and is recuperating. Let's meet again next time and forget about today. Su Yu understood, but Bai Feng's expression changed as he said, Isn't she recovering? Why do you feel that it's serious? Hearing that cough, which was somewhat heart-wrenching, Bai Feng was a little nervous. It's fine, this girl. Chen Yong was a little helpless and said with some self-blame, I didn't pay attention 2 days ago. This girl was injured and insisted on continuing to cultivate. Some of her roots were injured. These few days, I brought her over to recuperate. I watched over her and didn't let her act recklessly. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 368, The Way to Attack and Kill. Chapter 368, Chapter 106 The Way to Attack and Kill. How dare you? Bai Feng said angrily, This darn girl, don't you know that this is the time to cultivate? Jia jia. Sigh, it's also my fault. Chen Yong sighed lightly and said, This girl knows that she lost her position in the top 100. At the end of the year, I'm going to be re-evaluated, so. Bai Feng understood. In order to not let Chen Yong be implicated, Wu Jia was prepared to kill her way into the top 100 again, so she braved herself and went to cultivate. In the end, her injuries were even more serious. Bai Feng was a little angry and said in a low voice, It's my fault. I shouldn't have gone to look for Hu Wenqing before. I'll think of a way for Jia Jia to get some good things to replenish her injuries and let her recover as soon as possible. Don't delay her injuries. At this moment, Su Yu, who had been listening from the side, also felt a little aggrieved. Uncomfortable. After entering the library, he felt something different. Previously, this feeling wasn't too obvious. There didn't seem to be many people targeting Bai Feng. In other words, Bai Feng didn't have anything to be targeted at right now. He didn't hold any position. He stayed at the research center all day and rarely went out. If he didn't have money on hand, he wouldn't even go to the mystic realm. Under such circumstances, Bai Feng was almost invincible. However, the situation on Chen Yong's side seemed to be very troublesome. Many people were coveting the position of the head of the library. Chen Yong seemed to be having a hard time dealing with it. Even the library itself had some problems. Su Yu took a deep breath and hurriedly said, Uncle Master, I still have a lot of merit points here. If senior sister needs any medicine for her injuries, I can go buy it. You child. Chen Yong smiled and said, It doesn't have to be like this. Your master and I haven't fallen to such a state. I appreciate your kind intentions. This is the time when you need merit points. Joining Bai Feng's sect, Sai, it just so happens that at this time, we are both willing but unable to do so. I'm afraid that the help from resources is limited. Chen Yong was somewhat apologetic and softly said, with your talent, if you go to other departments, I'm afraid you will receive even more support. Unfortunately. I'm sorry. Martial uncle. Su Yu hurriedly said, Martial uncle, you're exaggerating. It should be my good fortune. There are fewer people and fewer people. At least there aren't those troublesome matters of scheming and scheming. I think that in the divine literature department alone, even our own people will harm our own people. Chen Yong smiled lightly and said, it's normal to have more people. Everyone has their own troubles. If there are too many people, there won't be enough resources, and the distribution will be uneven. All of these will cause such an impact. Bai Feng coughed lightly and said, Senior brother, why are you saying all this? We didn't mistreat this kid. He just entered the school not long ago, and we have already spent thousands of merit points on this kid. What is there for him to be unsatisfied with? Su Yu nodded with a silly smile. He agreed and gave his teacher some face. But speaking of which, he had indeed given quite a lot. Cultivation technique, mountain-shattering bull essence blood, fragment room, filter room, and even the skull of the annihilation beast. If one were to count them all, their value wouldn't be low. If it were any other faction, it would be impossible. There were too many people, too many geniuses, and it would be difficult to divide them up. Chen Yong smiled and didn't mention these anymore. He gestured for the two of them to sit down on the sofa. He stood up and poured a cup of tea for Su Yu. Su Yu hurriedly took the cup and poured himself a cup of tea. At the same time, he poured a cup for Chen Yong. As for Bai Feng, his face was a little stiff. Where's mine? Su Yu didn't do it on purpose. He promised. Bai Feng had just poured himself a cup of tea. He saw that he had poured the tea, so he didn't help Bai Feng pour it. Bai Feng glanced at Su Yu. Bai Feng couldn't be bothered to scold him. In the research center, he had never seen him be so attentive to his father. Senior brother. Chen Yong waved his hand and interrupted him. He looked at Su Yu and said, Did your teacher tell you in detail about the multiple divine runes? Su Yu hurriedly said, I know. Our multi-god language is a faction that can only fly after fusing more than 10 god language. After Su Yu spoke for a while, Chen Yong suddenly glared at Bai Feng. Ignorant and incompetent. Bai Feng blinked and felt a little wronged. What did I do? Don't listen to your master's nonsense. Say something superficial. Chen Yong opened his mouth and said, If there are more than 10 divine runes, then it means there are more divine runes. If there are more divine runes, then it means there are more divine runes. In fact, the more divine runes are similar to different cultivation techniques. The divine runes are the same as the acupuncture points. Different divine runes fuse and combine to form a set of battle techniques, which is also the divine runes battle technique. This is the essence of the more divine runes. No matter how many divine runes you have, they are not part of the system. In fact, they are not considered as the more divine runes. Our full name is the Multiple Divine Runes Fusion System. Multiple divine runes are the prerequisite, and fusion is the key. This is where our essence lies. Su Yu was enlightened. So that's how it is. Looking at Bai Feng again, he suddenly felt that his teacher wasn't very good. He had said it many times, but he hadn't gotten to the main point. Bai Feng's face turned green as he tried to explain, Senior brother, I was planning to wait for him to recover his temperament before explaining in detail. Who knew that this brat? He wanted to say that this fellow was too quick to recover his temperament. He didn't even have the time to say it. Recover his temperament. At this moment, Chen Yong seemed to have finally reacted. He looked at Su Yu and was stunned for a moment. You've recovered your temperament? Yes, senior uncle. Chen Yong looked at Bai Feng in a daze. A few days ago, you told me that he still had some time to recover his temperament. Why is it so fast? Bai Feng. You're asking me? Who am I going to ask? Chen Yong shook his head again. That's not right. Since you came here, I should have known that he had recovered. For a moment, he didn't react and was almost swayed by you guys. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. My reaction speed is a little slow. Since Bai Feng brought Su Yu here, doesn't that mean that Su Yu has recovered his character? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 369, The Way to Attack and Kill, 4. Chapter 369, Chapter 106 The Way to Attack and Kill, 4. I'm a little late to the game. It seems that I've been staying in the library for too long and am a little behind the times. Very good, very good. Chen Yong nodded with a smile on his face. He was very satisfied. At this moment, he did not say anything else. He quickly said, Your master probably did not have the time to talk about this with you. He has been busy with many things during this period of time. I know all of these. In the future, if you don't know anything, you can ask me directly. I'm a little more idle than him. When he entered the school, I was also the one who taught him. Your grandmaster is also a busybody, just like him. Then. Chen Yong said again, although your master doesn't have the time to teach you some basic things, some profound things involve his domain, so he is much stronger than me. In the Tao of Divine Text Fusion, he is stronger than your grandmaster, and also stronger than me. Bai Feng said in a reserved manner, Senior brother, you flatter me too much. Chen Yong could not help but laugh. He continued, Bai Feng is good at attacking and killing. I know that all of you young people like this. You should have seen his attacking and killing techniques. Hu Wensheng is definitely not an ordinary 9th level ascendant. He was also a genius and evildoer back then. In the end, he could not take one move from your master. He is indeed very strong. Senior brother, you flatter me. Bai Feng was once again reserved. It was not good for him to praise himself. Senior brother still knew how to speak. Chen Yong could not be bothered with him. He continued, Today, your teacher brought you here to determine your future path. In our faction, we mainly walk 3 paths. The path of offense and killing, the path of defense, and the path of offense and defense. Don't think that it's good to have both offense and defense. If the offense and killing are not outstanding, the defense is not strong. On the contrary, it is somewhat mediocre. Bai Feng walks the path of offense and offense. His combat power is strong, but it won't last long. He emphasizes on killing in one strike. Otherwise, it'll be a little troublesome and easy to be killed by others. As for me, I walk the path of defense. Chen Yong wasn't modest at all, he said bluntly, even though I'm at the 9th level of Lingyun, when the first 3 levels of the mountain and sea meet me, as long as it's not an expert with strong offensive power, killing me, will be very, very difficult. But if you want me to make a move, I don't have any powerful divine writing offensive skills. Killing them will also be difficult, so I can only drag them down. Su Yu was stunned for a moment before saying, Uncle Master, why do I seem to have heard of you from Teacher Zhao? Who? Zhao Li. Bai Feng continued, he is a subsidiary student of Zhao Li who specializes in weapon forging. Zhao Li. Chen Yong was stunned. Suddenly, he said, Su Yu, you are Zhao Li's student. Yes. Su Yu nodded. Chen Yong looked at Bai Feng again. You instructed him to do so. Bai Feng said speechlessly, what does it have to do with me? He went to look for him himself. Zhao Li even wanted to snatch my disciple. Chen Yong suddenly fell silent. Bai Feng looked at him, somewhat puzzled. Chen Yong was silent for a moment before he slowly said, Su Yu, you walk the path of offense and killing. You don't have to walk the path of defense, and you don't have to walk the path of both offense and defense. Of course, there's a prerequisite, you'd better. Senior brother, what are you trying to say? Bai Feng asked. Bai Feng was surprised. What was senior brother doing? Chen Yong took a deep breath and said, Zhao Li, you're really ignorant and incompetent. You don't know what's going on. Do you know who the fourth-generation mansion master is? I know. Bai Feng was speechless. After the death of mansion master Zhao Yunchuan, he left behind the origin secret realm. How can I not know? He died 115 years ago. How can I not know? Zhao Li, the son of the fourth mansion master. Bai Feng was stunned. Impossible. Zhao Li, isn't that old? He's almost 120 years old. Su Yu was stunned while Bai Feng was stunned as well. He's already 120 years old and is only at the 7th level of Lingyan realm. Chen Yong glared at him and said unhappily, he doesn't really like to specialize in divine inscriptions. He specializes in weapon forging, so his cultivation speed is slightly slower. But why haven't I heard of him before? That's why I said that you're ignorant and incompetent. If you really want to put in more effort, you should know. Chen Yong said slowly, Zhao Li is the son of the fourth-generation mansion master. The fourth-generation mansion master is famous for his strong vitality and willpower. It has something to do with his Yuan character divine prose and his cultivation technique. The fourth-generation mansion master created a cultivation technique based on the Yuan character divine prose. It's called the expanding spirit technique. Chen Yong looked at Su Yu, he said in a deep voice, the biggest weakness of the offensive and offensive Tao is that when one's willpower is not strong enough, the consumption of one's willpower is too great. If one cannot sustain it, one will be easily killed by others. The reason why I want to cultivate the path of defense is so that I can have such a weakness and be killed by others. But once I cultivate the expanding spirit technique, I can effectively solve this problem. Bai Feng was stunned again. Is that so? Why didn't anyone tell me? Why didn't anyone tell him such an important matter? Su Yu looked at Bai Feng and suddenly felt some pity. It seemed like he knew nothing at all. How pitiful. Bai Feng seemed to have felt his gaze and his face was filled with black lines. Brat, who are you talking to? Teacher, I'm still young. I'm not even 30 years old. I've only been in school for 9 years. Isn't it normal for me to not know many things? Chen Yong was amused by them, he smiled and said, it's useless even if I tell you. Zhao Li has a strange personality. After the fall of the fourth-generation prefect, the God-expanding technique was almost lost. He was the one who filled it up bit by bit. When his father died, he was still young. He was only a few years old. Chen Yong explained, the current spirit-augmenting technique is almost his own creation. He has a strange personality. Even if he took in a few students and felt that they weren't qualified to cultivate the spirit-augmenting technique, he wouldn't pass it on to the public. The public said that he kept it to himself, but he didn't care about these things. Master actually looked for him a few years ago, but he saw you, he said that you were trash and didn't have the qualifications to cultivate his spirit-augmenting technique. Master had no choice but to give up. Bai Feng was stunned. I'm trash. This was the first time in my life that someone had called me trash. Senior brother, are you serious? Chen Yong didn't care about him, he looked at Su Yu and smiled. Since you're valued by Zhao Li, then there's hope to obtain his God-expanding technique. If that's the case, it can solve the problem of your weak willpower. At that time, you'll truly be an expert in offense and killing. If you continue to attack, no matter how strong your defense is, it will be able to stop you once, but it will not be able to stop you many times. Chen Yong was a little excited as he said, previously, I also paid attention to these things, but I did not expect that Zhao Li would actually take you in. You said that it sounded familiar, then I realized that Zhao Li should have told you that after he cultivates the God-expanding technique, his battle prowess will last for a long time, right? Su Yu nodded. He didn't say anything about the cultivation technique. He just said that he can last for a long time, and even a Shanghai realm expert might not be able to delay him. That's right. Chen Yong smiled and said, if he even said that to you, it means that he actually wants to teach you the God-expanding technique. It's just that the problem of the minor cultivation makes him unable to let go and feel that it's a loss. After Chen Yong said this, he said seriously, seize the opportunity. You are valued by him, which means that you have the qualifications to cultivate the soul-expanding technique. This cultivation technique must have some flaws and limitations, and it can't be casually spread. Zhao Li has a strange personality, but I don't think that he's the kind of person who keeps things to himself. He definitely has his reasons for not teaching you. Bai Feng wasn't taken in back then, but you were taken in. This is your opportunity. Su Yu, you have to go over there more often and seize this opportunity. If you learn this, you might become the strongest offensive divine scribe in the polytheistic school. The best defense is to attack. Continuously attack. Su Yu's blood surged as he listened. Bai Feng wanted to draw circles as he listened. What's the meaning of this? Senior brother, why are you always comparing me? I didn't catch your eye. I'm trash. That old geezer Zhao Li is really not a good person. The art of offense. Soul augmentation formula. At this moment, Su Yu was also slightly excited, but soon, he felt a little dejected. Zhao Laoshi had said that he wouldn't impart it to him unless he was his direct disciple. Senior uncle had overestimated him. P.S. Push a book. Female channel bosses, like wine, prefer your dimples. Female channel recommendation ticket doesn't coincide with male channel recommendation ticket. Everyone, vote for a collection ticket. Another topic, Eagle was a little tired, the new book just went on the shelves, writing a little tired. Old age, time is not forgiving, everyone subscribe more, stimulate Eagle, sell a miserable, arm seems to be a little swollen, writing for many years, the first time this situation. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 370, Battle Techniques of Divine Literature 1. Chapter 370, Chapter 107 Battle Techniques of Divine Literature 1. This was the first time Su Yu had heard of Zhao Li's background. The son of the fourth-generation prefect had an extraordinary status. As if he had thought of something, Su Yu asked curiously, Uncle Master, teacher said that the first, third, and fifth-generation prefects are all from the multiple divine literature series. Is the fourth-generation prefect from the weapon forging series? No. Chen Yong smiled lightly. The fourth-generation prefect is in the single divine language department. He also majored in divine languages and has a strong willpower. However, before he soared into the sky, he did not form any divine language battle techniques. Therefore, even if he condensed a lot of divine languages in the later stages, he is not considered to have multiple divine languages department. The second-generation prefect was born in the beast-controlling department. In the past, he raised a powerful demon beast that surpassed the mountains and seas. Chen Yong said a few simple words. Su Yu actually had quite a lot of doubts. He carefully said, Uncle Master, we are from the divine literature school. In the past, we were so powerful, but the third-generation prefect was also from the divine literature school. Now, are they all gone? Such a powerful school, were there only a few of us? The change 50 years ago had such a huge impact. Chen Yong's face was a little gloomy as he said softly, "Some things are more complicated than you think." The fifth-generation head of the department, our grandmaster, was the leader of the polytheistic language faction back then. He truly surpassed the mountains and seas and walked on the mountains and seas. When he was still alive, the polytheistic language faction had also developed to a peak. 50 years ago, the fifth-generation head of the department was about to become invincible. He took a deep breath. Chen Yong sighed, "Invincible. There are no invincible experts in the multi-god language." The invincible experts hundreds of years ago also did not have the multi-god language. Although the multi-god language appeared not too late, the system was not perfect at the beginning, so it could not be considered a true fusion. The previous few experts in the multi-god language mostly stopped at the Sun-Moon realm. Sun-Moon realm? Su Yu was stunned for a moment. Chen Yong smiled and said, "It's the peak expert above the mountains and seas. Above the mountains and seas, you can see the sun and moon. After the sun and moon, you will be eternal. Invincible is what we commonly call it. The official definition is eternal. Of course, these are not important. It was just the name of the realm. If it was said to others, invincible or eternal, it would be the same." Chen Yong didn't say anything more about it. He continued, "Before the fifth-generation prefect, we had many experts in the divine language. The leaders could only stop at the sun and the moon. Until the fifth-generation prefect rose, there might be an invincible expert in the divine language. More than 50 years ago, the fifth-generation prefect died in order to advance. To ensure that the fifth-generation prefect could advance successfully, at that time, a large number of experts in the divine language went to protect the path. There was the sun and the moon, the mountains and seas." Chen Yong sighed. The fifth-generation prefect walked the path of attack and slaughter, and he was known as the strongest sun and moon realm back then. Once he succeeded in advancing, the human race would have one more invincible super expert. In the end, they encountered big trouble. That day, the great Xia king, the great Zhou king, the great Ming king, and the great Shang king. Many invincible realm experts were held back by the experts of the myriad races at the same time. That year, the heavenly battlefield was filled with bloodshed. In order to prevent the fifth-generation prefect from advancing, more than 50 years ago, more than 3 invincible realm experts died in the heavenly battlefield. Chen Yong sighed and said, "With the addition of the divine language, they fought against 2 unrivaled experts. The fifth-generation prefect sacrificed his life to join forces with the addition of the divine language and killed an unrivaled expert. In the end, he was unable to turn the situation around and died in the celestial battlefield. The other experts also suffered heavy casualties. The great Xia emperor forced the enemy back. When he went to rescue them, it was already too late." Su Yu swallowed his saliva. "He killed Invincible." "Yes." Chen Yong nodded. "He killed Invincible. The fifth-generation head of the mansion is so strong. Even if he suffered heavy losses at that time, why was he so miserable later on?" Chen Yong smiled bitterly and said, "Actually, it wasn't so miserable in the beginning. The fifth-generation head of the mansion fell, and we suffered heavy losses. However, we still have some foundation. In the end, all the geniuses and successors of that generation had met with mishaps. It's really sad to talk about this. I won't say any more. It's meaningless to talk about it now. As for the remaining experts of the multi-divine script lineage, there are actually some." Chen Yong explained, "The multi-divine script lineage actually originated from the Great Xia Manor. However, it was passed down from generation to generation, and it was found everywhere. The main force was in the Great Xia Civilization Academy. There were also some experts of the multi-divine script lineage in other academies, including the military. However, the military would usually not get involved in these matters. They don't care about the factions. As for some experts from other academies, after that incident, the position of the multi-god language lineage was greatly reduced. They are only barely holding on now. In addition, the experts from the Great Xia Civilization Academy have all perished, so. Suyu somewhat understood, but there was still one thing he did not understand. After thinking for a moment, Suyu said hesitantly, since we have been glorious before and have proven that the multi-divine pros faction is powerful, and even have a chance of advancing to invincible, the 5th generation prefect even killed an invincible. Logically speaking, shouldn't we be supporting them vigorously? Why would the academy? Chen Yong said somewhat awkwardly, how should I put it, 50 years ago, the people of our generation did indeed offend the others ruthlessly. Back then, a large group of people walked the path of the multi-divine pros faction and expended countless resources. The myriad races originally had countless of them. Yuan Qi liquid, essence blood, and these things were used without restrictions back then. They indeed squeezed the living space of the other factions. Chen Yong's words were rather fair, he explained, too many resources were expended, including the 5th generation head prefect. In order to advance, he also expended a large amount of the foundation of the academy. At that time, the academy was almost empty. Even so, there were still countless students who had to walk the path of multiple divine inscriptions. If the 5th generation head prefect succeeded and martial uncle and the others advanced, then there would naturally be nothing to say. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 371, Divine Literature Battle Technique 2. Chapter 371, Chapter 107 Divine Literature Battle Technique 2. But they all failed. Chen Yong said regretfully, not just one or two, but all of them failed. At that time, the academy couldn't take it anymore and was on the verge of collapse. At this time, Principal Wan stood out and took over the position of the 6th principal. He expelled Uncle Master's group and redistributed the resources. Thus, the multi-divine literature department declined. Chen Yong continued, later on, when the other factions rose up, the academy discovered that the resources needed to nurture a Shanghai realm expert from the other factions might only be 1/3 or even 1/5 of ours. At that time, we expended so much, but we were unable to bring the academy the corresponding benefits, so we gradually reduced a batch of resources. As he said this, Bai Feng said faintly, in the previous years, it was actually understandable. After all, the academy suffered heavy losses at that time. In addition to the failure of senior uncle and the others, it left a lingering fear in people's hearts. Many geniuses were cowardly and didn't dare to enter the multi-divine language faculty again. So, at that time, senior uncle and the others didn't resist and tacitly agreed to the academy's plan. Because, they did create a crisis for the academy and created trouble. They almost caused the academy to be unable to pass on its legacy. But later, the academy calmed down. At this time, the taste changed. Bai Feng sneered, the academy calmed down and realized that they had more mountain and sea realms, even more than in the past. The same resources nurtured more mountains and seas. Why must they nurture more divine languages? So, we are getting more and more miserable. Chen Yong said softly, don't say that. The main reason is related to ourselves. If we don't bring the corresponding benefits, then you will consume too many resources. Naturally, you will encroach on other people's resources. He looked at Suyu, he explained, don't be overly hostile towards others. Actually, there are some things that are understandable. After all, there are few experts in our department and the gains we bring to the academy are small. Many of the resources of the academy were obtained by those pavilion elders in the heavenly battlefield. If you don't pay too much, if you want to obtain more, you will definitely be missed by others. Bai Feng disagreed, yes, but in reality, we didn't expect to obtain too much, right? The Great Xia Mansion had allocated funds, and so did the Quest Realm. Could it be that it was all theirs? Weren't we part of it? How many of our cultivation resources came from the other people in the academy? They were all exchanged with merit points. Even if the majority of the resources in Master's research center were obtained by Master himself, and a small portion was allocated by the academy, we still provided the academy with some priceless research results, right? Bai Feng did not agree with Chen Yong's words. He said unwillingly, moreover, it's not a problem of resources right now. It's a problem of them not giving us any space to survive. We don't have any resources, so we didn't force them, right? We can get as many as we can. We cultivate on our own. If we have merit points, we'll exchange them. If we don't, then forget it. Who did we rob? Bai Feng continued, moreover, how many of the things left behind by the academy were left behind by our seniors? They can use them, but we can't use them. What logic is this? Bai Feng sneered, let's just say that most of the things in this library were left behind by the previous experts. Can't we use a little of the things left behind by our seniors? Why are they the only ones who can use them? In these years, they have consumed much more things than us. Chen Yong waved his hand and interrupted him. He frowned slightly and said, don't say these words. It's meaningless to really fall out with them. The situation is like this. The Great Xia Civilization Academy is our route. Are you planning to leave? If you really leave, then don't expect to restore the glory of the past. Bai Feng curled his lips and looked at him with disdain. However, he didn't say anything else. If he really left the academy, it would be almost the same if he went to other academies. If he worked alone, those secret realms without the academy would make it much more difficult for the myriad clans to grow. Relying on just a few people and a mountain and sea to support the world would be too difficult. If he had some confidence in the academy, there was still hope that he could get up. Chen Yong didn't bother with him. He looked at Su Yu and said, your top priority is not these things. We will take care of these things. Your mission is to cultivate. Before you soar into the sky, you don't need to care about anything. You don't need to get involved. Su Yu nodded. He couldn't care about these things even if he wanted to. Let's go to the initial harmony pavilion. Chen Yong stood up. As he walked, he said, this initial harmony pavilion is reserved for the multiple divine languages. There are some very precious books inside. They are specially prepared for us, the multiple divine languages. After we cultivate our nature, we outline the divine languages, choose the divine language battle techniques, and determine the path. Usually, we first determine it in the initial fusion pavilion. Following Chen Yong's words, the group went down the stairs. The initial fusion pavilion was on the 9th floor. When they just walked over, Zhou Pingsheng was leaving with a group of people. Chen Yong acted as if he didn't see it. Zhou Pingsheng's face was dark, and he didn't greet them. He quickly left with a few curious students. Clowns. Bai Feng cursed in a low voice. He looked at Su Yu and said, if the first harmony pavilion opens to them, they won't be able to learn anything. It's a waste of time. Su Yu didn't say anything. It wasn't easy to respond to that. A moment later, Su Yu entered a large room. It was somewhat ordinary and nothing special could be seen. There were some bookshelves. On the bookshelves were some original books of the 10,000 races. Some were made of bone, some were made of jade, and some were made of animal skin. Chen Yong saw Su Yu staring at the original books of the 10,000 races and said with a smile, if this isn't the center of gravity of the first harmony pavilion, it's just some miscellaneous books. Zhou Pingsheng and the others simply can't enter the core area. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 372, Divine Runes Battle Technique 3. Chapter 372, Chapter 107 Divine Runes Battle Technique. After saying this, light suddenly flashed in front of him. Golden divine runes appeared one after another. Su Yu took a rough look and was secretly speechless. There were so many, he felt like there were at least dozens of divine runes. Very soon, these divine runes gradually melted, yes, melted. The dozens of divine runes fused into one, and in the blink of an eye, they turned into something that looked like a key. Chen Yong held the key in his hand and gestured at the wall a few times. Very soon, Su Yu couldn't help but blink and rub his eyes. The wall had melted. He saw that one of the walls in the initial fusion pavilion had directly melted. It had disappeared. In the next moment, Chen Yong's voice sounded, "Come over, come in." Su Yu followed him in a daze. Behind the wall, there was actually another room. Turning back. The wall that had just melted appeared again, but they could no longer see the scene of the initial fusion pavilion. They were in a completely different room. Bai Feng chuckled and said, "Are you surprised? This is the real initial fusion pavilion. Only we of the multiple divine languages can open it. The ones outside are just a diversion." Su Yu nodded, not caring about his pride. He looked around and found that it was a sealed room. The place was not too big, only about 30 to 40 square meters. There were also a few bookshelves inside. Other than a few bookshelves, there didn't seem to be anything else. It was almost the same as the ones outside, right? Look at the walls. Bai Feng reminded, the core of the initial fusion pavilion is not those books, but the walls. These walls are different. They are unique to the original 10,000 races, or rather, they are countless original 10,000 races that have fused together and used those things to form the walls. On the side, Chen Yong also said slowly, "Su Yu, the fusion of multiple divine runes. As I told you before, it is the fusion of divine runes. Just like the acupuncture points, they are linked together to form a set of battle techniques. This is called the fusion system. We are a system of multi-god language, not a chaotic mix of multi-god language. For example, you have opened 108 acupuncture points and formed the war god technique. These acupuncture points are specific and not random. Otherwise, if you have opened 1800 acupuncture points, it would be difficult for you to form a set of battle techniques and have battle strength." With Chen Yong and Bai Feng's explanation, Su Yu finally understood. He also knew the purpose of coming to the initial Harmony Pavilion this time. To determine the path. Then, he sketched out a framework in his Sea of Consciousness, the general framework, in preparation for filling in the divine runes in the future. For example, Bai Feng showed Su Yu his divine runes battle technique. A sword. A very short sword. This sword, I named it the dragon-slaying sword. Su Yu was speechless, the name was trash. Bai Feng did not think much of it, he continued to explain to Su Yu, "During the recuperation stage, I sketched out the outline of the frame and determined the core. Then, during the recuperation stage, I sketched out 12 divine runes and filled them in to stabilize the frame. The dragon-slaying sword has been officially sketched out. Its offensive power is incomparably powerful." Bai Feng continued, "Under normal circumstances, a frame needs at least 10 divine runes to be successfully forged. Otherwise, if the frame is not stable, it will directly collapse when it reaches the soaring stage. The frame will no longer exist. So, this is why our faction needs to draw more than 10 divine runes before soaring." Bai Feng smiled and said, "My dragon-slaying sword needs 12 divine runes to be stable. Later, when I reached the soaring stage, I drew another 6 divine runes and filled them in. A total of 18 divine runes were fused into it, so I was able to defeat Hu Wenqing in one strike." Su Yu understood. During the recuperation period, one needed to create a framework. The framework needed some support points, and this point was the divine runes. Only when the support points were all set could one enter the air and continue filling in later. Otherwise, if the support points were not full and one entered the air, the framework would shatter. And after one entered the air, the willpower would manifest, and the Sea of Will would no longer possess plasticity. It would be impossible to create such a framework, and it would be impossible to form a complete set of divine runes combat techniques. Chen Yong and Bai Feng explained to him for quite a while. In the end, Chen Yong looked at Su Yu and said solemnly, "The framework is not set randomly. You can set it however you want. This wall is actually a special guiding willpower original. When your willpower penetrates into it later, your sea of consciousness will form some divine literature battle techniques that are suitable for you. After that, you will use this foundation to outline, fill in the divine literature, and form a complete battle technique." Bai Feng continued, "Different battle techniques have different foundation support points. The less 10 foundation points, the more 10 divine runes. The more 13 to 14 divine runes. But remember, the more the better." Bai Feng said seriously, "Act according to your ability." In the nurturing stage, willpower was limited and there were too many support points for divine runes battle techniques. During this period, you would not be able to complete the sketch. If that was the case, then it would be troublesome. You would be stuck in the nurturing stage for countless years. For example, if you outline a sword that requires 50 support points, that means that you'll need to outline at least 50 divine literature in the nurturing stage. The specific divine literature isn't the messy kind. How many years do you need to outline it? If you outline it, can your sea of consciousness afford it? Even if you can afford it, you spent 30 years to outline it. When you're in the air, you're invincible. The other party is already in the mountains and seas. How are you going to fight against him? At this time, Chen Yong also agreed, "Your master is right. We have to act according to our capabilities, not blindly seeking more. Actually, as long as we set up the basic framework, it's fine. It's easy to think too much. After we're airborne, we can slowly develop it and fill it with more divine runes. There won't be much difference." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 373, Divine Runes Battle Technique 4. Chapter 373, Chapter 107 Divine Runes Battle Technique 4. Suyu asked curiously, "Uncle Master, Teacher, wouldn't it be more beneficial to have more support points?" Chen Yong smiled and said, "There are some benefits. For example, your master's dragon-slaying technique. With 12 divine runes as the foundation, the framework will definitely be more stable than the battle technique with 10 divine runes. It will add more features. If 10 divine runes are filled, then it can only add 10 characteristics. His will be able to add 12 characteristics." Chen Yong explained again, outlined the supporting points of the divine runes. The characteristics of these divine runes can be integrated into battle techniques. As the basic characteristics exist, such as sharpness, concealment, armor-piercing, blood-sucking, baleful aura, explosion, fire. Offensive battle techniques are mainly focused on enhancing attacks. Bai Feng interjected, "The basic characteristics of my dragon-slaying technique are mainly focused on enhancing lethality. Sharpness is practically a must for us. Next is strength, which increases the destructive power of the battle technique. Sensitivity, which makes the battle technique's explosive speed even faster." Following Bai Feng's explanation, Suyu understood this time. "Teacher, are you saying that if I fuse my 3 divine inscriptions together, I might be able to possess the characteristics of illusion, blood-sucking, lightning, and killing intent?" "That's right." Bai Feng nodded and said, "That's right. Your 3 divine inscriptions can be considered as offensive divine inscriptions. In fact, they are more suitable. Of course, it doesn't mean that we can't disassemble them after fusing them together. We can also disassemble individual divine inscriptions to use. Divine inscriptions battle techniques are usually a sure kill technique. Once it is used, it will be a sure kill technique. Otherwise, it will consume too much energy. In normal battles, we will usually disassemble the divine inscriptions and use different battle plans according to different scenarios. I understand. Suyu completely understood. This thing was actually similar to cultivation methods and martial techniques. The amount of enlightenment determined the depth of one's foundation. A sword that could support 15 divine inscriptions and had 15 fused characteristics would usually be more powerful than a sword that had 10 fused characteristics. Suyu looked at the four walls. On the left, it was suitable to outline defensive techniques. The right side was suitable for outlining both offensive and defensive divine runes techniques. The front was suitable for outlining offensive and killing techniques. This was created by the multiple divine runes experts in front. It was specially used to lay the foundation for newbies like them. It was targeted. Teacher, Uncle Master, then I'll start outlining. Suyu didn't say much. He stopped in front of the wall and used his willpower to probe inside. He entered a meditative state. Bai Feng took a deep breath and transmitted his voice, "Senior brother, what do you think he will sketch out?" "It depends on himself." Chen Yong did not say much. He said softly, "There are many things in it. See what he can see, capture, and sketch. It all depends on his own luck and talent. We can't control it." As he said that, he looked at Bai Feng, he smiled and said, "Back then, you outlined the framework of the dragon-slaying technique. 12 divine runes as the foundation is already very good. Attacking and killing is inherently more difficult than defending. Suyu being able to outline a divine runes battle technique similar to yours is already enough for me." Bai Feng rolled his eyes and then, he sighed and said, "I've told him a few times not to be too greedy. More might not be a good thing, but I'm worried that this kid might not be able to hear it. If this outlines the framework of many divine runes as the foundation, then it'll be troublesome." Chen Yong asked curiously, "You're that confident?" Under normal circumstances, even if he were to encounter someone with a lot of divine runes as the foundation, he might not be able to successfully outline it. Naturally, he would choose someone weaker. "You don't understand." Bai Feng sighed. "Senior brother, you're too inexperienced. This kid likes to slap people's faces. I always say that you can't do it. You can't do it. It's impossible for you to reach this level." In the end, this kid gave himself a backhand slap. I had been slapped in the face too many times, so it wasn't good for me to make a judgment in advance. I think he might be able to sketch out a battle technique with 15 divine runes or more. Chen Yong glanced at him, feeling a little strange. Was he that confident? Jia only sketched out a battle technique with 10 divine runes or more. When she entered the academy, she also had superior grade talent. Bai Feng sighed, "It's different, it's different. Superior grade, that's also different." Chen Yong could not help but laugh. Sigh like that? It seemed like this junior brother had suffered quite a blow. Then I'd like to see what he can sketch out. Let's wait and see. Bai Feng rubbed his chin. 15, wouldn't that be too little? Sigh, disciples who did not follow the usual procedures would hurt their master. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 374, 2 Nines, 1. Chapter 374, Chapter 108, 2 Nines, 1. His willpower reached into the wall. Suyu seemed to see the starry universe. It was vast and boundless. The stars were instantly destroyed and regenerated. What is this? Suyu was a little curious and a little excited. He felt that it was very awesome. His consciousness was floating in the vast universe. A moment later, a star beside him seemed to be attracted to him. The star flew over. When it really flew over, Suyu realized that it wasn't a star at all. It was like a huge pot. Suyu fixed his gaze on it. He was stunned for a moment before he quickly reacted. It's not for me to sketch it myself, but, it has a template. No wonder his uncle master and teacher said that he would know when he entered. The big pot flew toward him as if it was hesitating. It circled around Su Yu for a while, and the next moment, it quickly left. 11 light spots. Su Yu saw it clearly. In the big pot, 11 light spots flickered. 11 basis points of divine literature battle technique. 11 is too little, not as much as teacher. Moreover, a pot-like thing, it's so embarrassing to use it. Su Yu didn't chase after it. He felt that it was very weak. At this moment, he vaguely understood what was going on. Using his willpower to capture these templates was just like sketching the divine script. Su Yu's consciousness drifted once more. He saw a hammer that flickered with 12 points of light. It was too weak, no. He saw a long spear that flickered with 13 points of light. Not bad, this could be prepared and used as a reference. 13 points, one more than master. It was still acceptable. Most of them are weapons. Su Yu understood. This wall of attack had many templates that looked like weapons. The divine runes were filled and turned into weapons. Perhaps the efficiency would be better. Maybe I should find a knife. Su Yu looked around. If he didn't get close, it would be difficult for him to see the appearance of the stars clearly. After drifting for a while, Su Yu saw a knife. Unfortunately, there were only 10 light spots. Su Yu didn't like them and continued to wander in the starry sky. There were many, many. Su Yu saw many light spots, so he wasn't in a hurry. Take your time to find them. What was there to be afraid of? At this moment, Su Yu felt that a few divine inscriptions in his sea of consciousness seemed to shake. In the next moment, Su Yu's thoughts moved. Suddenly, 3 divine runes appeared in front of him. Thunder, blood, kill. The 3 divine runes suddenly appeared in this place. Su Yu was slightly stunned, but he wasn't too surprised. This wasn't a real space, but a space similar to the sea of consciousness. It was very normal for these things to appear. As soon as the 3 divine runes appeared, some of the stars in the surroundings suddenly began to tremble. A moment later, one star after another flew towards Su Yu. Su Yu was slightly taken aback, but he quickly reacted. Was this a divine runes battle technique that could find a match on its own? Did the divine runes have this ability? There were many stars in the surroundings at this moment. There were all sorts of things. Knives, spears, swords, halberds, hatchets, hooks, forks. There were also some strange things. Hammers, large pots, iron chains. Su Yu took a look and saw that there were at least 20 of them. Among them, more than half of them were 10 points of light. The most was a sword that was actually flashing with 15 points of light. At this moment, this sword and the kill word resonated and shook with each other. This should be the kill word that took a liking to the other party, and the other party also took a liking to the kill underling. Su Yu looked at the template and was slightly moved. 15 light spots, it seemed to be the one he saw the most. However, at this moment, the 2 underlings, Thunder, and Blood, seemed to be a little repelled. The divine runes shook, as if they were not satisfied with this sword. Is there repelling? Su Yu frowned slightly. Bai Feng had also said before that the divine runes he was sketching now might not be able to be used. Some of the divine runes might not be compatible with the divine runes, so they could not be added to the divine runes and could only be used alone. Now that the 2 divine runes were not compatible, Su Yu was somewhat hesitant. Give up on these 2 underlings. These 2 underlings were the first 2 divine runes he had drawn. He felt that it was too much of a pity to give up. It's best to find something that can accommodate all 3 divine runes. This way, it won't be wasted and can be filled in. Su Yu looked around and looked around. He temporarily gave up on the idea of subduing the sword and could reserve it. There were quite a lot of 15 light spots, but it was a pity that they didn't match his underlings. As he continued to wander, more and more light blobs appeared around him. Some of the light blobs circled around Su Yu for a while before leaving. Clearly, Su Yu wasn't the only one choosing them. In fact, these light blobs were also choosing Su Yu. After a while, Su Yu frowned. There were only 15 light blobs at most. He discovered that the sword seemed to have the most light blobs. Unfortunately, they didn't match the blood and thunder divine runes. Just as Su Yu was considering whether to subdue the sword or not, a light blob not far away attracted Su Yu's attention. This light blob wasn't big. It was far from being as bright as the surrounding light blobs. It was even a little dim. But at this moment, this small ball of light had gathered near the 3 divine runes and was hovering around them. The 3 divine runes didn't seem to reject each other. Of course, they didn't resonate with each other like before. It was as if they were strangers. If you don't offend me, I won't bother with you. The ball of light was dim, and it wasn't big. Su Yu couldn't even tell what it looked like in a short while. It was just a ball of light. Su Yu was a little curious and looked at the ball of light. It was so dim that he couldn't even see how many spots there were. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 375, had 2 nines, 2. Chapter 375, Chapter 108 had 2 nines, 2. This is also a template. Why does it look so weak? It doesn't reject the 3 divine runes, but it's not too close either. This small ball of light circled around the divine runes like a child. It was interested in the divine runes, but it was also a little afraid of strangers. It didn't dare to get close, but it was also reluctant to leave. Su Yu got closer, but this ball of light actually avoided it. Su Yu was now interested. Did he encounter something good? He got closer and looked again. Inside the ball of light, some of the light spots were very dim, but Su Yu found that there were light spots, but they were not very bright. 1, 5, 8. Su Yu counted carefully and was a little surprised. This small ball of light seemed to have 18 light spots inside. He even suspected that he had counted wrong. Such a large stellar longsword only had 15 points of light. It was frighteningly bright. You are so small and so dim, yet you have 18 points of light. Doesn't that mean that you need 18 divine runes to lay the foundation? Such a powerful one. I encountered a treasure. Su Yu's heart trembled. He had read the extracurricular books and knew one of the words, treasure self-deprecating. Could it be this kind? It was actually very powerful, and it pretended to be very ordinary. 18 points of light, and it doesn't reject 3 divine runes. Did I encounter a treasure? Su Yu's heart skipped a beat, and he was somewhat happy. Could it be that my luck was so good? Although it looked very weak and small, and it was just a ball, 18 points of light was very impressive, all right. Up until now, the ball of light that Su Yu had encountered the most was this. Su Yu was excited. This was it. This was not bad. This was good stuff. He was ready to capture it. It was not easy to encounter 18 points of light, so this was it. Su Yu's willpower spread out. In an instant, this ball of light was enveloped. According to his teacher and the others, if this thing was absorbed into his sea of consciousness, then it would belong to him. From then on, his divine literature battle technique was set in stone. Even after he soared into the sky, he would only fill it with divine literature. The main body would still be this thing. This ball of light was very obedient. Once Su Yu's willpower enveloped it, this thing floated towards him on its own accord. It was about to be subdued by Su Yu. At this moment, in the sea of consciousness, the golden atlas that had been motionless all this while seemed to have discovered something. In the next moment, the golden atlas suddenly shook. Pfft. It was clearly the silent void, but Su Yu seemed to have heard the sound of shattering. The sound rang out in the sea of consciousness, and in the next moment, Su Yu was stunned. The light lump shattered. Yes, it shattered. What the hell is going on? Su Yu was stunned. Normally, only when he opened the myriad races atlas would there be some movement. Why did it suddenly shatter the framework of his divine literature battle technique today? What the hell? Damn, what does this atlas mean? It doesn't allow others to enter the sea of consciousness, so it can only occupy it? But that's not right. Previously, all the literature soldiers, void beast skulls, and divine literature could all enter. 18 points of light. Su Yu was a little angry. I finally encountered a good thing, and I thought that the heavens were looking out for me. What do you mean? They didn't even resist and were directly captured by me, yet you shattered it? The atlas shattered the light ball and no longer paid attention to Su Yu. It returned to silence once again. Su Yu cursed in his heart. This was infuriating. Seeing that he couldn't find any more light balls, Su Yu could only cast his gaze towards the 15 light balls of the longsword. This at least had a resonance with the kill underling. As for the blood and thunder underling, I'm sorry, it seemed that all of you could only wait until you rose into the air and fill it with the divine runes. Su Yu covered the longsword with willpower. His willpower pulled the longsword, and the kill divine runes also vibrated continuously. The longsword was attracted to fly towards Su Yu on its own initiative. This time, Su Yu felt some difficulty. Previously, when he was absorbing the small ball of light, there was no pressure at all. However, at this moment, the pressure was huge. Su Yu kept pulling, and after a while, he felt exhausted. Only then did the longsword barely be wrapped by his willpower and fly toward the sea of consciousness. Su Yu felt the movement of the sea of consciousness, and felt the movement of the golden atlas. You won't be doing nothing anymore, right? Just as he was thinking, another crisp sound rang out. Su Yu was stunned. It shattered. F***CKU. Su Yu was furious. What did this mean? This fellow occupied his sea of consciousness and actually didn't allow other divine literature battle technique templates to enter. He consecutively shattered 2 balls of light. This time, it was over. These 2 balls of light were the strongest in the vicinity. One of them had 18 points of light. One had 15 points of light. What the hell was going on? At the same time. Outside. Bai Feng looked at Su Yu, who was trembling non-stop. He felt a little strange and frowned. Why isn't it done yet? What is this kid doing? Chen Yong also felt strange. I clearly felt his sea of consciousness trembling just now. It seemed like he was about to outline the basics of divine literature battle techniques. Why did it suddenly stop? He was also puzzled. Why did it stop? Bai Feng looked at Chen Yong and asked uncertainly, did he fail to outline the divine literature battle technique? Normally, he wouldn't. If he really failed, it means that he's not suitable to cultivate the divine literature battle technique. Then, he's not suitable to become a student of the multiple divine literature department. When Chen Yong said this, Bai Feng was shocked. It can't be. Su Yu was unable to outline the divine literature battle technique. Didn't that mean that this kid had no way of inheriting the mantle of their school? Chen Yong also didn't understand the situation, he said, usually not. After so many years, almost no one has failed to outline the divine literature battle techniques framework. Even if their talent is slightly lacking, the trouble is that they won't be able to fill it up with the basic divine literature, not now. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 376, 2 nines. Chapter 376, Chapter 108, 2 nines. Almost impossible. Bai Feng looked at Chen Yong and frowned. Senior brother, you're not telling me that someone has failed before, right? Almost, that means someone has failed. Chen Yong explained, it happened many years ago. Someone has failed before. It seems to be just one person. I'm not sure about the details, but there are records. 200 years ago, a student came to sketch out a divine literature battle technique. He said that he had sketched out a powerful divine literature battle technique, and there were dozens of light spots, but after the results came out, no one found out that he had sketched out anything. Chen Yong said helplessly, according to the records in the books, he had no way to enter this battle technique wall after that. Even if other people failed once, they could still continue to enter. He only did it once, but after that, because he had no way to sketch out a divine literature battle technique, he switched to another department. According to what he said, he had really sketched out a powerful battle technique in this wall of battle techniques. It was a very special battle technique. Although it was very dim, there were many spots of light that matched his divine text. When he sketched it out, it was very smooth. However, for some unknown reason, it disappeared after it came out. Chen Yong continued, later on, the third-generation prefect came up with an idea. This wall of battle techniques might have incorporated some sort of deception-type divine text. As a result, it formed a battle technique with the nature of deception within it. At that time, it even caused a sensation. Many students were worried that they would encounter it. In the end, after a few hundred years, such a thing did not happen again. Therefore, a few decades ago, someone once again denied this claim. In fact, there was no such deceptive battle technique framework. That student back then might have failed to outline the battle technique wall and found his own reason. As for why he was unable to enter the battle technique wall again, no one knows for the time being. Bai Feng blinked. That can't be, right? I didn't know about this. This is just a miscellaneous record. There's no need to understand. Chen Yong didn't mind. He smiled and said, in the past few hundred years, there has only been one case. It might not be true, so it's useless to know. I also read it from a miscellaneous book. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known that such a thing had happened before. That's good. Bai Feng heaved a sigh of relief and looked at Su Yu again. He was a little curious as to why this brat had been dawdling for so long. I don't believe it. At this moment, Su Yu was also sullen and helpless. Once again, he ignored everything else and captured a frame with 12 points of light. In the end, another unforeseen event occurred. Just as he subdued Su Yu, with a PFFT sound, he was shattered again. F*CK, what on earth are you trying to do? Su Yu was furious. If this went on, he wouldn't be able to subdue it at all. Didn't that mean that he wouldn't be able to cultivate divine literature battle techniques? Just as Su Yu was furious, the golden atlas shook once again. This time, it was out of Su Yu's expectations. The golden atlas suddenly floated out. Just like a few divine inscriptions, it seemed to have floated out of the sea of will. In the next moment, the golden book exploded with a burst of light. Poochie sounds continuously rang out as light blobs shattered one after another. The golden book directly shattered the dozens of light blobs around Su Yu. While Su Yu was in a daze, the golden book once again showed signs of movement. Within the shattered light blobs, there were actually still light spots. This book seemed to be picking and choosing as it absorbed some light spots from the void. Some light blobs were destroyed and one light spot was absorbed, some two, and some not. Including the few light blobs that had been shattered in the sea of will previously, there were light spots being absorbed at this moment. On the other hand, Su Yu only realized at this moment, that there was only one light spot left behind. What was going on? He didn't have time to think about it anymore. Gradually, the light spots in front of Suyu regrouped and actually reassembled into a light blob. The ball of light flickered with bright light spots. Suyu was still in a daze. The Golden Atlas did not care about those battle techniques, so it shattered those battle techniques and extracted the essence from them to regroup. Just as his thoughts were running wild, a new ball of light was born. It was a knife, a very small knife, somewhat similar to Suyu's literary soldier. The light spots were densely packed. Suyu counted. 99. Did he count wrong? Suyu was stunned for a moment before counting again. It was 99. So many light spots had been shattered, and there were at least a few hundred of them. In the end, the Atlas extracted 99 of them and reassembled them into a knife. 99. You must be crazy. Suyu was not pleasantly surprised. He was only angry and stunned. What did this mean? You want me to draw 99 divine runes before I soar into the sky? I will die. Can my sea of consciousness bear it? If someone else drew a few divine runes and soared into the sky, then I will draw 99 divine runes, or perhaps even more. After all, they might not all match these light spots. Are you trying to play me to death? At this moment, Suyu's consciousness existed in this place. Otherwise, his face would definitely be ashen. A battle technique formed from 99 divine runes was definitely very powerful. However, how could he have so much time to outline it? How could he have so much willpower to nurture it? With this, others might have entered the mountain and sea, but he might still be soaring in the air. Wasn't this asking him to die? I refuse. No. Suyu gritted his teeth. I don't want it. Why did this trash atlas go crazy today? Couldn't he just stay in the sea of consciousness? He had to come out and cause trouble. Just as Suyu was thinking, the 3 divine runes suddenly fluctuated. In the next moment, the 3 divine runes were suddenly embedded into the blade. Suyu's willpower fluctuated. He wanted to peel the divine runes out, but he realized that he did not succeed. Damn, what the hell? Suyu was stunned. The 3 divine runes had betrayed him. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 377, 2 nines, 4. Chapter 377, Chapter 108, 2 nines, 4. In other words, if he didn't accept this saber, the 3 divine runes might disappear. What the hell? The 3 divine runes seemed to be very comfortable. At this moment, they were wandering in the 3 light spots in the saber, as if saying that they were very satisfied with this new home. Suyu was so angry that he wanted to explode. He really didn't understand what was going on with this picture book. Wasn't this thing a dead object? Could it still have consciousness? 99 divine inscriptions. Suyu's face turned green, and he suddenly comforted himself. It was only 99 divine inscriptions, not many. I looked at it once, sketched one, and only looked at 99 pieces of the will. Once a day, 99 days would be enough. No, 96 days would be enough. I'm just burning money. I need to read more articles of will. Suyu wanted to cry, but he had no tears. He really did not know whether it was a good thing or not. 99 pieces were too many. This caused him to have a small breakdown. 99 pieces, it must be very powerful. Yes, very powerful, very powerful. Suyu comforted himself again. Since he could not resist, then he should accept it. The light clusters nearby were actually shattered. If he wanted to search again, he would need to spend time. The key was that even if he found it, it would be shattered by the album. What a waste of effort. Helpless, Suyu could only use his willpower to wrap the small saber and bring it into his sea of consciousness. Without much resistance, the album had already disappeared and returned to his sea of consciousness. The 3 divine inscriptions had also settled down in the album. It seemed very comfortable. A moment later, the small saber disappeared into thin air and appeared in Su Yu's sea of consciousness. This time, the album did not shatter it. 99 divine inscriptions. Even if I tell others, teacher won't believe it. Su Yu was helpless. Would Bai Feng believe it? Was there a battle technique made up of 99 divine inscriptions in this battle technique wall? Probably not. He opened his eyes. Su Yu's face was ashen. Beside him, Bai Feng was shocked. He failed. He suddenly felt that this scene was somewhat familiar, so he immediately changed his words. Is the battle technique framework sketched out not good? This kid was always startled. Perhaps it was because his battle technique wasn't very good, which was why this fellow appeared depressed. Su Yu wanted to say something, but he hesitated. It wasn't that it wasn't good, but it was too good. Teacher, I said that I outlined a battle technique with 99 basic divine inscriptions, would you believe it? Su Yu grimaced, unable to say it no matter what. After a long while, he dryly said, Teacher, in our department, who sketched out the most basic divine inscriptions for a divine inscription battle technique? Oh. Bai Feng was stunned for a moment, then thought for a moment and said, this, if it's not Martial Uncle Lu Wenyan, then it's the 5th generation head prefect, right? Behind him, Chen Yong looked at Su Yu with some puzzlement. He said, it's the 5th generation head prefect. He has drawn a combat technique that contains 22 divine runes. Martial Uncle Lu has drawn a combat technique that contains 18 divine runes. Our teacher, your martial ancestor, has drawn a combat technique that contains 14 divine runes. Of course, attacking and killing is a bit more difficult. We have to be relatively simple. Attacking and killing, under normal circumstances, 10 divine runes would be comparable to our 12 divine runes. As he spoke, Chen Yong continued, the 5th generation prefect is a person who is about to reach the peak of invincibility. Martial Uncle Lu is also a proud son of heaven from 50 years ago. Therefore, they are all terrifyingly strong. Under normal circumstances, if you are able to outline a battle technique with 10 divine runes, you are already very strong. Bai Feng also explained, that's right. Our battle technique is much harder than theirs. I have outlined 12 basic divine runes battle techniques, which are much stronger than your grandmaster and my master. He is of the same level as me, so he is definitely not my match. Chen Yong rolled his eyes at him. As he spoke, Bai Feng looked at Su Yu and said, did you sketch too few divine runes for your battle techniques? Don't be depressed, it's fine. Even if you only have 10 divine runes, that's enough. Compared to your master, you're a little lacking. Beating up Hu Wensheng's generation is enough. He still comforted him. As long as he succeeded, it would be fine. As for how many divine runes he had, it didn't really matter. 10 basic divine runes were enough. This was a top-notch genius. As long as he could successfully cultivate, he would be able to beat up those of the same level. Su Yu wanted to say something but hesitated. I'm so anxious, what should I do? The 5th generation prefect killed an invincible expert, and he only managed to outline 22 divine runes worth of battle techniques. Su Yu. 99. 1 is equal to 4. If the 5th generation prefect kills an invincible expert, I can kill at least 4. Teacher, if I say it, are you afraid? Do you believe me? Will you hit me? Su Yu originally didn't want to lie, but at this moment, after struggling, he said dryly, that, the battle techniques I outline have divine runes foundation points. How many? Bai Feng was anxious. What were you doing? You wanted to say something, but you hesitated. Don't you know that it's very urgent? Su Yu was silent for a moment. I'm an honest person, so I might as well tell the truth. He gritted his teeth and said, 2 nines. Bai Feng was stunned for a moment, then his face was filled with anger. 18 then 18. Do you have to say 2 nines? Does that make you look very awesome? But 18 was really awesome. Chen Yong also said in surprise, 18 basic divine runes. So many. This should be a good thing. However, you need to sketch out 18 divine runes that can be fused during the recuperation stage. In other words, the number of divine runes that you can sketch out will far exceed 18. This is quite a test of your ability. 18. This kid was indeed a genius. Very strong. However, the difficulty was also very high. He was a bit worried. Could Suyu complete it? Suyu didn't say anything. You said 18. I said 2 nines. I didn't lie. In the future, when you know, it's not that I didn't say it, but I said it. You all misunderstood. 18. You all had the expression that you were going to be in a lot of trouble. If I said 99, he suspected that these two would despair. Suyu also had his own thoughts. He was worried that if he said 99 basic divine arts combat techniques, he would be abandoned. This was a possibility. This meant that he might not be able to fly for the rest of his life. At the very least, in the eyes of these two, the possibility was very high. Moreover, he couldn't say it directly since it was related to the Golden Atlas. He was still an honest person, and what he said was the truth. It was their own mistake, so he couldn't be blamed for it. In the future, I'll keep a low profile and sketch out 5 divine runes. I'll just say that I've sketched out 1. This way, I'll be able to keep up with the progress. Suyu began to make some small calculations. In the future, he would have to keep a low profile and not tell Bai Feng everything. Every time he sketched out 5 divine runes, he would report the good news once again, saying that he had sketched out 1. This way, he would be able to keep up with the filling progress. Otherwise, the progress wouldn't be able to keep up. 18. At this time, Bai Feng and Chen Yong couldn't care less about Suyu. The two of them looked at each other and Bai Feng said in a low voice, as many as Martial Uncle. How long did Martial Uncle spend to almost fill it up? About 3 years. Chen Yong thought for a moment and said, almost 3 years before it's almost filled up. This kid, can he compare to Martial Uncle? At least 3 years before he can enter the sky. As Bai Feng spoke, he looked at Suyu and heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, this kid's drawing speed wasn't slow. After 3 years, he would also be an expert in the sky. It wasn't too slow, but it wasn't bad for him to be a little slower than him. With Suyu's speed, he felt that he wouldn't be any slower than Martial Uncle. Thinking about this, Bai Feng was a little happy. It was pretty good. If this guy really only drew 10 divine inscriptions and advanced, then maybe 1 or 2 years would be enough. If he was faster than him, then he would lose face. 18. Looks like we will have to expend quite a bit of energy in the future. Bai Feng had already thought of something else, but Suyu just lowered his head and didn't say anything. 99 will expend a lot of will. Teacher, you probably can't afford to support me anymore. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 378, was not to be delved into 1. Chapter 378, Chapter 109 was not to be delved into 1. 18 Divine Runes. Bai Feng and Chen Yong were still chatting. A moment later, Bai Feng thought of something. He said, Senior brother, let him read a few original versions of the 10,000 races. This kid drew 3 divine runes, and they are all human divine runes. The human divine runes are drawn very quickly. I'm really worried that his comprehension speed of the 10,000 races divine runes will slow down. They are all human divine runes. This was the first time Chen Yong had heard of this news. He asked in surprise, haven't you read the 10,000 Races Divine Runes before? I have. It's a fragment, so I haven't comprehended it. That's fine. Chen Yong didn't really care. He hadn't even read the 10,000 Races original texts. A fragment didn't mean anything. It was very normal. He turned to look at Su Yu and said with a smile, "Don't feel any pressure. This is a good thing. Although 18 divine runes are a lot, there are many benefits. The time taken to fly won't be delayed for too long." He wasn't too worried. How long had Su Yu known Bai Feng? He had already drawn 3 divine inscriptions from beginning to end, and this was before he cultivated his nature. After cultivating his nature, his willpower would increase, and drawing divine inscriptions would be easier. According to Su Yu's speed, even if he drew 1 divine inscription every month, a year and a half would be enough. Of course, the later the period, the more difficult it would be. His sea of will would be under pressure, and accumulating divine inscriptions would also require a large amount of willpower. This initial fusion pavilion has placed some targeted original texts of 10,000 races. There is hope to condense some divine texts of powerful races. Chen Yong pointed at the bookshelves in the room, he smiled and said, "Among these, there are the divine races, the demon races, the dragon races, and the giant races, various powerful races' original cultivation techniques. There is hope to sketch out some powerful divine texts. Su Yu, you can continue to watch from here. Of course, the prerequisite is that you have grasped the language of that race and know the meaning behind it." Chen Yong added, "If you don't understand the language of the race, it's useless even if you read it. If you don't even understand the meaning, you won't be able to successfully outline it." Su Yu nodded, feeling a little excited. "Forget it, let's not think about it anymore. It was just 99 divine runes, what was there to be afraid of? I'll read it one at a time, I'll only read it 96 times, I'm not afraid." Looking at the myriad clan's original books, Su Yu was a little excited. It seemed that the more divine inscriptions, the more profound they were. There were still so many original books of myriad clans here. Looking at how excited he was. Bai Feng warned, "Don't waste your energy on me. The initial fusion pavilion is our last trump card. All of our trump cards are here, and, actually, none of them are considered ours now. Many of these are ultimate books. If we cripple this one, there won't be anyone left behind." Chen Yong nodded and said, "Your master is right. Many of these are rare books. Many people have read them before. Some of them might break after reading them. Of course, it's okay to read them once or twice. If you still can't draw the divine text after 3 or 5 times, then give up on this one." Chen Yong sighed and said, "It's not that I won't give you more chances. It's just that if you read too many of them and ruin them, some precious divine texts might never appear again." "I know." Su Yu hurriedly nodded, "Don't worry, teacher and uncle master. I won't force you if you can't sketch them out." Bai Feng smiled and pointed at the bookshelf, "There's an introduction on it. There's an introduction on which books you finished reading and which divine runes you might sketch out. You'll mainly look at the offensive aspect, but not the defensive aspect." After saying that, he added, "Stay here for 3 days. 3 days, you can read whatever you want. In 3 days, I'll come and pick you up. Here, you can only come once in 3 months at most." Bai Feng said seriously, "At other times, we still have to rely on ourselves. Currently, there aren't many 10,000 clans left. If there are too many, they'll be exhausted in a few years. They won't be able to survive until now." Su Yu nodded again. 3 days was not a little. It was already very generous of him to show him the 10,000 clans for 3 days. Just think about it. Even if he attended a public lecture and a flight-level researcher attended the lecture, it would at least cost him 5 merit points per lecture. A lecture would at most cost him 2 hours. Here, he could stay for 72 hours. If he counted it as money, he would have at least 180 merit points. He could come once every 3 months, 4 times a year. Just looking at the original, it would cost 700 to 800 merit points. Then we'll go out first. Chen Yong smiled and said, "You can focus on reading here." After entering the cultivation state, the biggest goal of our lineage is to sketch more divine runes. After you sketch a few divine runes, we'll teach you to integrate the characteristics into the battle technique framework. Don't do anything rash for the time being. Chen Yong reminded, also, it's best if the divine runes can form a system. Su Yu was puzzled. It's best if it's the divine runes of the same race. Chen Yong smiled and said, for example, if it's the divine runes of the celestials, then the effect will be better than the interweaving of the celestials and demons. Of course, this depends on the person. It might not necessarily be a little better. In addition, the divine runes of the celestials and demons are stronger than those of some small races. If there's a choice, it's best to choose the divine runes of these powerful races. Chen Yong reminded Su Yu for a while, and Su Yu memorized everything. This was the experience of the older generation, and it might not be recorded in the books. After all, there was not much of a difference. If it was recorded, some people would go to the ends of the earth and blindly pursue the divine runes of the same race, often delaying their cultivation. Bai Feng and Chen Yong left. They did not leave any food, but left a few drops of yuan qi liquid for Su Yu. It was fine as long as he did not starve to death. Su Yu also felt that he had profited. How valuable was the yuan qi liquid? 99 pieces. Su Yu muttered. Only now did he have time to look at his sea of will. When he saw the small knife, he had the urge to vomit blood. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 379, Cannot be delved into 2. Chapter 379, Chapter 109 Cannot be delved into 2. So many. What a scam. Also, this golden atlas. Su Yu frowned. What the hell was this thing? Not to mention absorbing the blood essence of 10,000 races, he sketched out a divine literature battle technique, and this guy actually came out to cause trouble. Was this controlled by someone, or was it spontaneous? Su Yu frowned and felt somewhat uneasy, but at this moment, he had no way. I won't waste any more time. Let's read. Su Yu looked at the bookshelves filled with books and his face was filled with joy. He had forgotten about his unhappiness. Reading was the main thing. The razor-sharp origin of 10,000 races. Su Yu saw the label on the bookshelves. There was an introduction on it. If the books on this bookshelf could obtain divine runes, the probability of obtaining divine runes with the razor-sharp characteristic was very high. It could only be said that the probability was very high, but it didn't mean that it could be outlined. Saber Ant Race Cultivation Technique. Su Yu glanced at it. There was an introduction in human language beside the picture book. There was an explanation for each race, just in case you didn't know how to read it, it would consume your willpower and waste resources. Su Yu glanced at it and quickly saw a familiar race picture book. Devil Scorpion Race, Tail Thorn Sharp, ranked 368 in the 10,000 races ranking list. Innate skill, Tail Thorn, with armor piercing, poison killing, and other characteristics. Observing Devil Scorpion race martial arts techniques, it is beneficial to outline sharp, piercing, and other characteristics of the divine text. The introduction was very detailed. Su Yu excitedly picked up the picture book made of animal skin, inserted his willpower into it, and began to observe Devil Scorpion race martial arts techniques. Just as Su Yu was reading. At the city lord's mansion. In the small garden, on the pavilion at the center of the lake. A square table was placed, and a few people sat around it. The plump Lord Xia Ho was holding tea leaves while leaning on a large chair. He said lazily, Long Wu really doesn't know how to enjoy himself. This pavilion at the center of the lake has good sunlight, good environment, good air, and the best place to drink tea. He actually abandoned it. Fortunately, I came, or else this place would have become a bird's nest very soon. Not far away, old man Hu smiled and shook his head. He continued drinking his tea and did not want to interrupt. On the other side, Wan Tiansheng was feeding the fish in the lake. From time to time, he would paddle the water and say with a chuckle, in terms of enjoyment, it is naturally Master Ho's specialty. That's right. Master Xia Ho chuckled and said, I've earned so much money. Why don't I enjoy myself? I've thought it through. In a few days, I'm going to change this lake water into Yuan Qi liquid. With that said, he looked at Myriad Heavenly Saint and said with a chuckle, are you selling your Yuan Mystic Realm? I'll buy it and use it as a lake water crafting tool for me. Myriad Heavenly Saint could not help but laugh as he said softly, if Lord Ho wants to take it, just take it. Really? Really? Myriad Heavenly Saint said with a faint smile, it's just a Yuan Qi mystic realm. If Lord Ho is willing, I have no objections to using the Xia Trading Company to exchange for it. He. Xiahou Master looked down on him. What was he thinking? Was he stupid? He could not be bothered to talk about this anymore. Xiahou Master sipped on his tea and continued, tell me, why did you come looking for me out of the blue? About Xiaohuyo. Tch. Xiahou Master had a look of disdain. Do whatever you want. If you have the ability to kill him, if you can't kill him, do whatever you want. It's impossible for me to spend a single cent. If you came here for this matter, scram. Wan Tiansheng could not help but laugh, while military advisor Hu shook his head with a smile. Plucking hair from Xiahou Ye's body was not that easy. Wan Tiansheng stopped joking and said, I'm here today for two things. First, I'm here to look for Xia Yinqi. Where is he now? As soon as he said this, Xiahou Ye's expression changed slightly and he sat up straight. On the other side, military advisor Hu's expression also changed as he looked at Wan Tiansheng. Why are you looking for him? Lord Xiahou frowned and said, ever since he was expelled by you, he has been wandering around. What's the use of looking for him? Why? Are you still thinking about the divine text on his body? No. Wan Tiansheng shook his head and said, you know me. I don't have the mood to make a move on their divine text. It's meaningless. I don't need it either. Then you. Wan Tiansheng said seriously, I just want to ask, how has his cultivation been all these years? I've also been to Lu Wenyan's side. I've asked around, but he's not willing to see me. Even if he does see me, he'll tell me to scram with a dark face. Wan Tiansheng sighed. And he's not universal. I want to ask Xia Yinqi about the situation. I want to know, was the choice made by the Multi-Divine Texts Department right or wrong? If it's possible. Lord Xiahou directly interrupted, so what if it's possible? Wan Tiansheng, you're not thinking of recruiting them back, are you? No. Wan Tiansheng shook his head, 50 years have passed, and the polytheistic divine literature has completely declined. But I often wonder if they still have hope. Back then, they were so determined and so desperate, did they really discover something? Could they really produce an invincible one? Originally, I was about to lose confidence. Recently, a new student from Nanyuan entered the academy, and I discovered something different, so I wanted to see if there was still a chance. A chance? On the other side, military advisor Hu said softly, I'm afraid there won't be. Of course, I'm not sure either. Back then, that group of madmen were desperate. I don't understand why they chose to do this. They harmed themselves, Lu Wenyan, and my sister. Military advisor Hu sighed, he sighed. Ever since Ping was banished, even I no longer see her. I also want to ask, is it really worth it? Expending so much of the divine literature's essence just to chase that pitiful hope, they. Sigh.